timing.
Perfect.
All right. And Ken has his background all ready to go. All right, I got to turn my sound down here.
Good to see you guys.
Yeah,
Of course.
it's a week. It's been a week, right?
It has been 7 days.
Yeah. All right, let me see. So, before we start, is there any links you guys want to send? Do you guys have any streams you want this to go on?
Yeah, I'm not that fancy yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, me either.
Okay. There's a way we can put it on other streams. I think right now it's on my Facebook, or it should be. And let me make sure that the chats are hooked up.
Yeah, we've already got someone saying hey to us. How exciting is that?
Oh, wait, is the chat working then? Okay, yeah, there we go. Yeah, there we go. We got, and that's a YouTube chat. So I assume the other chats are working. So, and I have a picture of it on TikTok, so they can at least see what they need to go to YouTube. All right.
Oh, did you figure it out?
Well, no, I just put an iPad in front of it. Because if someone jumps on here, they're going to be like, I just hear Mike talking. Because I could probably take my headphones off, but then we would wind up getting, because of the delay, it would probably freak people out. All right. So we I liked John's idea of a topic. When he first started, he said, what are we working on? Though I think that would also be one of those ones that could be a very long list if they talk to me. And then I suggest Tatooine, only because, I don't know, it's like the holy land of Star Wars. Sorry, I keep looking up because my screen, I got to move my screens here. My screen is below my camera. So hopefully it doesn't crash when I try to switch these screens real quick. All right. There we go. I think I got it. Now I can look like I'm looking at you guys.
Nice.
All right. So, well, first off, John, do you have your helmet? So let's start with you, since you're the baby of the group.
The foundling.
Did you? Well,
yes.
Okay. Were you guys offended by my my TikTok about us doing this?
No, no spot
called
on.
us all dumbasses. So I didn't want to. I figured you guys wouldn't mind, but then I realized, hey, maybe they're having a bad
I gladly
day.
accept a title like that.
Okay, I didn't. None of my guests panned out. I was trying to get a couple people, and I was just being neglected. So It's a Wednesday. Everyone cries. They got to go to work.
Oh, work? God, come on.
It's still work if you're tired, but it's still All right, John. So let's start with the project. So we'll go around and talk about projects we're working on. So John, you go first and show us some of your progress.
Well, Ken, you want to hold down the fort real quick? Because
Absolutely.
I didn't
Sorry.
prepare for that. I forgot the helmet's still downstairs.
Okay, well then, Ken, what are you working on?
So I'm working on a custom post-Imperial Mandalorian costume. So for those of you listening that aren't familiar with all of those words, let me start off with custom Mandalorian. So the Mandalorian Mercs, the costuming group, one of the beautiful benefits of being in a group like that is you're able to create your own take on that costume or on those characters, as long as you fit within certain boundaries. So it's not as specific as being a stormtrooper or Darth Vader from A New Hope. You have a lot more freedoms. So that's what custom Mandalorian means. In terms of post-Imperial, what that refers to is the chest armor and some of those other pieces, some of those other armor pieces. So the post-Imperial Mandalorians have chest armor similar to Din Djarin. So instead of having the 4 separate chest pieces like Jango Fett or Boba Fett, it's more of the 1 or 2 solid pieces for the post-Imperial.
Oh,
so
okay.
So I'm working on a post-imperial Mandalorian, and included with that, the armor and the helmet, with a traditional T-visor. I'm going to be heavily armored, or not, sorry, heavily armored, heavily weaponed. So I'm going to have 2 blasters on my hips in holsters. I'm going to have 4 kunai throwing daggers. I'm going to have a blaster that is in a holster in the small of my back. I'm going to have a 2.5-foot sword. I'm also going to have a modified blaster that is very similar to the one that Baze Malbus carried in Rogue One, where he has he has an energy pack on his back, and it kind of behaves similar to a powerful shotgun. And I will have knee darts and darts on my gauntlets, and a knife in my gauntlet, very similar to Hunter from the Bad Batch.
Oh, okay.
So this character is going to carry lots of weapons. The idea I had in my mind when I was drawing this guy out is I pictured him going to a cantina, and at the door there's a bouncer, and the bouncer says, "No weapons allowed." Place them all on the table, and I would just be pulling weapons out of every pocket, every corner, and just have this big pile of weapons and say, "Yep, I think that's about everything." So my custom Mandalorian, it's gonna have lots and lots of weapons. And I would just be pulling weapons out of every pocket.
So that would be more like the Mad Max. Was it Beyond Thunderdome?
Yes, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad to see that that Arc 77 Fordo's back. He hung out with us last time.
Art got me looking for files on that animated helmet. There's someone that sells those files. He made me intrigued. So that's your main project, Ken. So,
yeah, that's pretty big because, like I said, there's
jetpack.
No, it's gonna be a backpack.
Yeah, I didn't know if you were going to have like a side pack and a jetpack, or if it was going to be somehow like doubly incorporated.
No, it's so like Baze's energy backpack. It'll have a center cylinder that holds the energy for the blaster, and then on either side there'll be one side that'll have a place for the sword, and another side that has a place for the blaster. So I've got the backpack, I've got the blaster that I have to make, or the rifle, 3 pistols, plus those throwing kunai or daggers, those throwing daggers. And so there's lots of pieces in this costume. It's by far my most ambitious costume that I've made thus far.
Now your wife has to be good with this because she's going to have to help you in events.
Yeah. Well, thankfully it is pretty simple.
I know, but I just know how, like, I have torn off my thermal detonator so many times because of it sticking out of the back.
Oh, okay.
That I'm dreading the days when I'm wearing a Mandalorian jetpack, and Steel City has wrecked at least 4 of my thermal detonators.
Oh my goodness!
Just from backing into corners, or backing into getting a picture taken. So that's cool though. That's a good one. All right, John. So he was on his Mandalorian kick.
Yeah. So here's what we have in this week's printing. We're not on TikTok, just to be clear, right?
Right. Wait a minute. I'm turning the camera sideways because my first live with John, what did I show? I showed
it was Mando's blaster.
I showed Mando's pistol, and we got booted, and I got a 24-hour ban on doing TikTok.
Yep. Yeah. So I've got my Westar 34. This is one of 2 blasters I'm going to use on my Mandalorian kit.
Is that a printed one, or is that a Ruby's?
Yep, that's printed.
Okay.
I have one of the original 2002 blaster kits. I don't remember where. I think I got them at Disney. But they're so wide, and this one is much thinner.
Oh, that's nice.
Wow.
Yeah, so gloved hands can really grip this
nice.
well. Then I've got it taped together so it gets the general shape, but I've got most of my right gauntlet done. I've got a flamethrower I need to print for the side. And then my magnum opus is I've got my helmet done.
I like that helmet.
That was fast.
Yeah, this was working on my days off to try and get it as far as I could.
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah, you can't really tell on camera. However, these are two different shades of
Yeah,
red.
you can see it. I can see that. I like that. That's what I was gonna say. I like the two shades.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's
Very
So
nice.
I'm very proud of the weathering on this one. It came out a lot better than I anticipated.
How did you
Yeah.
do it? Did you use masking or toothpaste or
Liquid latex, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I lost my first bottle, so I had to order a new one, and I wasn't thrilled about it. But thankfully, it's cheap. So
Yeah, yeah. No, that's cool.
yeah,
I
it
usually
really,
get a bottle or two when Spirit of Halloween is getting ready to close up for the season.
Oh yeah.
Is
Yeah,
go
that'd
in
be
and grab
smart.
just like one or two because they usually have those kind of things on sale, and just because you never know when you're going to need it.
right. Yeah, and then I went for a chrome visor as opposed to your standard black,
Yeah, I
just
do
because
like that visor.
I feel like it went better with the because I was gonna do white, but then I really I liked how the aluminum color looked on it, so I decided to just stick with it.
No one will be able to take flash photography of any of these Mandos. It'll just be like,
Yeah.
no,
So
that's. Now, what'd you use for the visor?
the visor is just window tint. I had a limo tint roll
Okay.
I've been using for all my helmets because one side is black and the other side is chrome.
Oh, nice.
So it makes really easy for doing visors.
Well, yeah, like I discovered. So I usually use welding visors for mine, but they're so rigid that they're always fighting to pop out.
Hmm.
So if you go on Amazon, there's these goofy looking visors you can buy, like it's a head visor and it folds down into like no one would. I don't know who would actually buy it, but they're very thin, and you can cut it with scissors, and it lays right perfectly in the tint. And if you want a darker tint, you just buy two, and you just back them up against each other.
Just have to be careful of that because the first time I ever wore my costume in public, I had it doubled up and I couldn't see.
Right.
Like,
Well,
so I had I was bumping into children and stuff like that.
with the welding lens, I can if it's super dark out, I have a hard time too. My first stormtrooper bucket had the bubble eyes in it, and I did a nighttime troop, and you couldn't see anything because the light coming in, it just So I did fine with my stormtrooper buckets. Once I started painting the interiors black, it helps you see a little better because that white with the white inside it would reflect a lot of light, and it was hard to get your eyes adjusted to the lenses. So I paint the whole interior black, and it made it. I didn't believe it, but someone just mentioned it to me one time, and it did make a big difference.
Nice.
So, anyway, so my project, I'm working on my own project that I want to get done for myself is still Boba Fett, but I'm getting sidetracked. Like I was just going down my list right now. My costuming project is still the Book of Boba Fett. But I'm probably going to do the Boba Fett from the Mandalorian. But after watching the Book of Boba Fett and when Mando returned, it made me want to do Mando again. I forgot how much I love that costume. So I'm going to have to lose about 20 pounds before I do that. But yeah, that's that one. Then my other list, I have 000 redo because I got to redo parts on 000. I'm doing the Millennium Falcon room. I'm doing the Mandalorian armor. I've been printing all kind. I have boxes of crap that I got to go over in my garage, and I got to go through my helmets in the garage and just have a clearance sale because I need room because I'm working the big project I'm working on is a one-piece 3PO head because there's a lot of people that just want a one-piece display 3PO head that don't want to have to fool around with a two-piece mask. So I'm gonna do a one-piece 3PO head that's perfect. It comes out of the mold, you just drill it out, put your eyes in, and you're good to go. So that's my warm weather is I started working on it a little bit in the warm weather the other day. It was 60 degrees here, so.
Yeah, we had a spell of warm weather here too, which was really helped me get my helmet done, so I don't have to worry about the paint.
The helmet looks good. And then the Tuscans, I've been playing around with this Tuscan stuff, I'm trying to build one Tuscan so we know what material we need by spring.
So related to the Tuscan costume, are you planning on having the parts ready for the folks that are going to show up at your party?
And that's what I'm trying to get a poll of how many people we have, because at first when Marty and I first talked about it, we were like, well, we probably get 4 people, and it can be Now it can be anywhere from 10 to 35 people. Because I've had people chime in that just want to make a helmet. They're like, they've never had a costume ever in their life. They just want a helmet to put on their desk of a Tusken Raider. So I'm trying to figure out how we can do it, like either come up with a parts list and people show up, or like I'm printing with all my extra spools of filament. I'm printing eyes right now, and once I get 30 sets of eyes done, then I'm going to print 30 sets of. I'm just going to all the greeblies. I'm just going to have a box of them, and then the face shells and stuff like that. Like I want to have all that. Like either like I have the face shells, or we have someone print them. And we figure out like each person needs so many feet of fabric, and we can say to someone, hey, we will either order it for everybody, or everybody pick this up at your local Joann's, whatever you want to do, because we want, when everyone gets there, whatever day it is, we want everything there, and we just build, so, and we just do it assembly line method, man. Just it's much easier to sew because those Tuskens are very simple sewing. We cut it and we just have someone that's good on the sewing machines just cranking them out while the rest of us are doing other things. So
yeah, I'm more than happy to. I love that idea.
Because I think with costuming things, and we would all attest to it because we've all been doing this. It's easy to get started. It's very hard to finish. And I'm a testament to that. Especially our own stuff. Like I know most of us have probably helped people with stuff. I've helped build more costumes. I still only have 2 costumes in all the years of me building it that for myself, but I built, I don't know how many, but yeah, that's the Tusken thing. And I also like the rifle. I think I have a plan to make the rifles, and that's something I think I can pre-cut too. So, and I think certain things, if you get someone who's good with woodworking on the blanks, and they can just spend 3 hours that day just cleaning up the blanks. If they all have that similar look while that guy's doing the blanks, someone who's good at sewing could be, we just kind of split up the work and then come together and put it all together.
Yeah, because at that point it could be you're at the personalization stage. So whoever's sewing, let's say it's I'm at the party, so that person who's sewing, I work on putting together my rifle and their rifle, so that when they're done doing the sewing, they can come over and personalize their rifle that I've helped them do, or their mask or whatever it happens to be.
Yeah, that's kind of my plan, just like a group effort. And what's nice where I live, it's pretty central for not someone like John who's out in Ohio. But what's nice is there's a beautiful campground near my house. If some people want to, like, they have boating and swimming pools and all that stuff, and people can stay at my house, or like my yard's big enough we could put tents up or whatever we need to do for people just to hang out and have a weekend, make a weekend of it. So
now, with the tents that we put up, would they have to be Tusken
themed? They have to be Tusken.
They have to be Tusken tents. Okay,
that's how we'll get everyone to get a Tusken tent.
Okay,
which a Tusken tent honestly would be super easy, because you would just basically the tents in Boba Fett looked a little more tent-like. But the Tusken tents from like the older ones, they literally look like they took like a half dome tent and just threw rags over it.
Yeah, in the Attack of the Clones.
Yeah. So that's our projects. Let me make sure we don't have any questions. I don't see. We only have 2 people chiming in, and I don't know if the Facebook's working. I saw Anthony popped in. We should have had Anthony come in as a guest.
Oh yeah, I forgot to see what he was up to tonight.
Yeah, these but yeah, let me just check. But that's what, like, Tatooine, so the reason I brought up Tatooine as a topic is except for the newer movies, but Mandalorian kind of made up for that. Tatooine is a part of all the Star Wars movies, and I guess it is in the sequels too, because it ends on Tatooine. So
we've already got a volunteer for our armor party. Someone who
northernmost Maine. All right. Well, hey,
he would serve as our guard.
Yeah, there you go. I don't think the nice thing about here, I think you don't even have to worry about possibly groundhogs.
No possums?
No, we don't really have possums around, and we'll see them occasionally. Buddy might hump you while you're sleeping. You have to watch for my bulldog, but that's usually a rite of passage at my house. If you get humped by Buddy, then you know you're good. Um, so yeah, but yeah, well, so like Ken, like the picture you have as your background, that was one of my favorite scenes when they redid Tatooine.
Yeah, from the special editions.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people didn't like the special editions, but what they did to Tatooine just made it so nice.
Well, I thought one of the ingenious things about Tatooine back to the original New Hope, George picked this place that was desolate, that could look foreign, without you didn't have to worry about buildings in the far distance and things like that. So this desert in Tunisia,
Yeah,
that he was able to create this other world in. And it serves so many great purposes. One of the things I always thought was funny about it is most of the times we go to a planet in Star Wars, it's usually like one environment. So Tatooine, the desert planet. You go to Hoth, it's the ice cube planet. You go to Camino, and it's the water world planet kind of thing. So I always thought that was pretty funny about Star Wars.
well, that reminded me of Flash Gordon, which was an influence of George Lucas, because that's how Flash Gordon was. It was just like the bird people, and it was like everything was the same way. It was kind of like that singular,
And I think what has also been wonderful is the way that Star Wars has become and has developed. So when you look at all of the time that's been spent on Tatooine recently, especially with the Book of Boba Fett, you get to see so much more than you originally saw, and you realize it is so vibrant, and there's so many possibilities for stories and colorful creatures and alien species all in that same place. It's really cool what they've done with it.
Yeah, I think it's kind of it's funny that you say, Star Wars is always all these different planets are it's one biome. However, Lucas was able to take like a singular planet and then just sprinkle in all these different kinds of creatures and characters just to make it not feel so one-sided, if you will. It's more lived in that way.
Right. And when I first saw Tatooine, the only other planets I'd ever seen on movies was on the Star Trek TV show. And when you watch, I have nothing against the old Star Trek TV show, but you had to really suspend disbelief that they were on a planet, And when you saw Tatooine, you were like, wait a minute, this doesn't look like fake rocks with a poster board behind the thing. Like, I mean, even the old version before they redid it.
Yeah, I mean those wide expanses of land, very John Ford visuals and so on. These sweeping landscapes where all you see is sand and so on for as far as you can look. To your point, yeah, this is definitely not made inside a building,
right?
With lights above and a screen in front of them or behind them rather.
And I remember, so when we went to Death Valley, right? We tried to hit all the locations of Star Wars. And being from the East, when you hear about the park of Death Valley, I'm picturing it like a park around here. Like, oh, we'll just drive in, spend a couple hours, and be on our way. We drove around for 16 hours in Death Valley. And we only saw a fraction of it. Like, it's the size of Connecticut. Like, it's humongous. But what I realized in Death Valley was it's probably one of the most beautiful places I've ever been, because you had to notice everything. Like, if you go into the forest, you could just look and wow, it's neat, but you had to look for beauty, and then you just saw like all these contrasting colors, and even a shadow changed it and stuff like that. It was so cool, and it did bring me back to Star Wars. It brought me back to all that Tatooine stuff, even though I know a lot of it was shot in Tunisia, but they used a lot of the long shots in Death Valley, which I think was really cool. And
Now, when you went to visit the places, did you use that Star Wars little guidebook that someone made?
We didn't have that. We didn't, and the problem with Death Valley was a lot of your phone and GPS doesn't really work that well because it's so big. So we had rough estimates. Like we could like find it. Like finding where Jabba's palace was pretty easy. Where that scene was, finding the spot where the droids walked in different directions. That was kind of easy. We tried to line it up with the mountains in the background a little bit. Finding where they look at Mos Eisley was pretty easy. But some of the other ones, you're like, okay, I think we're in the right location, and you just kind of looked for familiar things. But you didn't have as much. And now, this was a couple years ago. We just didn't have as much. Like the Wi-Fi and the phone service were spotty. So we did the best we could. Like when we went to go to Jabba's palace, that was the only concerning thing about that. It was like a single lane road. And this place is like, they're like, if your car breaks down, you just got to hope someone finds you because, you're like, okay,
So you're telling me that they didn't have, cell towers attached to giant cactuses out there or anything?
There's not a single cactus either. Like and now this was a couple years ago. I think I paid $7 or $8 a gallon for gas because there's one gas station in the middle of the park, and it's when I say middle, when we got to the edge of the park, just to get from the edge of the park to the first sign of like people, I think that was like a 4-hour drive. Like after we left the park, because it's not, it's not like, okay, the desert stops right here, so, and we went through, even with the air conditioner on, from driving around all day, we drank a complete case of water because they tell you have tons of water. And we're like, what do we need water for? We have air conditioning. As soon as you stepped out, it was 126 degrees the day they were there. And the only one that was doing better, Safi was the best because she had a hoodie on, which, like kids wear hoodies all the time. She was less hot because the sun would beat down on you the second it just burnt through your clothes. And if you held your phone up, you could take 3 or 4 pictures and your phone would start to overheat just from the sun hitting it. And if your car wasn't moving, you shut it off. You had to shut it off or it would overheat. So
that's extreme, man. That's incredible.
But it was fun. I would go back there in a heartbeat. We didn't get to go see. We wanted to go to see where the sail barge was, but by the time that would have been on our home loop. We were just like, let's just go home.
Yeah, that's definitely a bucket list location for me. That I'd love to go to Death Valley to see Tatooine. However, I will say this though, I do have a mason jar full of genuine Tunisian Tatooine sand from the Lars homestead that a buddy brought home for me. Yeah, I had a buddy who went to Tunisia on a missions trip, and he obviously knew I loved Star Wars, so they went to the Lars homestead, and he made sure to bring a mason jar back for me, so I had genuine Tatooine sand.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, that's a one of a kind thing that I will have.
Yeah, now I got sand from every location in the desert, and it's marked. I got big jars, so yeah. When I see you guys next, I'll get you a set of sand.
Well, it's funny that you say that because when they filmed The Rise of Skywalker, that was one of the gifts to the crew. They gave them sand and black beans. Because you remember the spoiler in that one scene where they all fell off their little skiff mobiles into the sinking sand. They gave members of the crew some of those black beans that they fell into.
That's funny.
No, we actually got a question in the chat asking which movie do we think is the best of all of them. I think that's a tough question for this trio to answer.
Well, why don't we answer it in regards to Tatooine, since we're talking about Tatooine?
Okay, that's a good way to look at it.
I feel like the Ken of this group tonight.
Well, as the resident Star Wars historian, I think I'd have to. I would choose A New Hope. Time and time again, because that's where it started. That's where the creativity, the imagination, the planting of the seed of so much else. So for me, it would definitely be A New Hope.
How about you, John?
It might be a little bit of recency bias because I've watched it a couple times, but honestly, probably Attack of the Clones. because I mean, it's no secret that I'm a shill for the prequels, but I recently rewatched Attack of the Clones, and I mean, it was one of those things where it's like, wow, I don't remember why I hated this movie for so long, and just seeing Anakin really have his like first dark side turn when he kills all the Tuskens after Shmi dies. It was one of those things where it as an adult, it struck me a lot more powerful than it did when obviously I was, 5 or 6 when I first watched it.
Yeah, yeah. I'd have to go with New Hope, but my close second would have to be Phantom Menace, the pod race when the I just remember when the girls first saw that. I think I had it on VHS when they saw it. When the pods wrecked and the Jawas went running for parts because the girls, then they wound up dressed. They just loved that, and when the Tuskens were taking pot shots at the thing. But I'm with you, Ken, in the sense that it kind of set the stage, and I loved it. And then I loved it even more when I saw the when they did the new editions and they come pulling into Tatooine. And I know a lot of people don't like the little Jawa falling off the animal and stuff like that, and all that little like womp rats running around. A lot of people thought that was silly, but I could have watched the whole video just like they put on Disney Plus, where you can see the landscapes. I could watch a thing of Tatooine all day. Like I could just watch all that happen. So,
well, it's funny that you talk about the special editions, because I think the special editions were the beginnings of the world seeing how weird George Lucas can be, and especially considering that was the beginnings of the use of incredible technology. So you mentioned the beast that the Jawas fell off of, that they ended up calling the Ronto. Once again, this is the Star Wars historian in me coming out. The name of the Ronto came from the fact that just before that movie, ILM and George Lucas and the team worked on perfecting the Brontosaurus for Jurassic Park.
Oh, okay.
So that Brontosaurus, that first time you see the Brontosaurus in Jurassic Park, and the world just gasped and how incredible it was. They wanted to put a similar creature into the special editions, and that was the creature. They put the animal that the Jawas were riding, and it was called the Ronto. And then, if we take the idea of George Lucas being weird and jump to Attack of the Clones may be the weirdest of the prequels, because there was just so much in it. Whether we're talking about the different levels of Coruscant or the different creatures that they saw. Yeah, exactly. All those different planets that they went to. And to your point, John, about how dark we got to see Anakin Skywalker get in a very short period of time. So yeah, I love it all, but I love looking at those little parts and how they connect into each other from one to the other. And then fast forward to just recently with the Book of Boba Fett. I mean, come on, how can you not enjoy what they put on screen for Tatooine?
Right. Well, and I think the Legends people should be a little happy with that, because they've started separating the Tuskens in the sense that they're showing them as different tribes and they're different ways. Like you have the ones that Luke met and that were a little more brutal, and you had the ones that the Mandalorian met that were probably slightly more brutal, but not as brutal as the ones that Luke met. And then you have the ones that found Boba Fett, and I still look at them as more of like a farming, because they had these devices that look more farming devices. And you have all that, which opens it up for that Jedi Tusken. Remember there was that book about that Jedi Tusken and stuff like that?
Yeah.
So it kind of sets the stage to pull some of the good stuff out of Legends. I wasn't a big fan of him, but there were a lot of people that are,
Now, I think it'd be kind of a swing for Disney to take to pull the Jedi Tusken into live action canon.
Right.
But I feel I get your point, where you could have another comic run or a book, just by all the different factions they're setting up of Tuskens.
Yeah.
And the idea of that could be something that we see later. So it doesn't have to be in the timeline that we're familiar with. It. That idea could show up in the stuff that happened after or happens after Rise of Skywalker.
Right. Well, and they also, and I think I said it last week when they mentioned the planet being covered by sea, by water. That seemed like a line that there's something that's going to come about because of that somehow.
Well, do you think they would build that into the work that they're doing with the High Republic, considering that the High Republic happened was several hundred years before the Phantom Menace?
Yeah, well, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking either it could be High Republic or, I remember the story of Mos Eisley. I don't know if you would know this better than me, Ken, but if I remember correctly, the old canon of Mos Eisley, it was built around the shipwreck, if I remember correctly.
That's part of what I thought I remember too. I don't remember all of the details, but I thought that sounds very familiar to me.
Yeah. So I just wonder if that's, if that's what they, I don't know. I'm a very positive Star Wars fan, so I'm very happy with what they're doing. I just think it's I think they're opening nice doors where they can go in different directions.
Yeah, and kind of back to your point of the planet used to being covered by water. I don't think it would be just limited to print material. I mean, Star Wars Eclipse, the new game that they showed at E3 this last year, that's set, I want to say 200 or 300 years before, the Phantom Menace. So I mean, it's not a lot of time, but it's it's definitely something that they are toying with in the timeline there. So you could also see Tatooine show up there, and possibly before it's completely sand.
Yeah, well, and I was also thinking just of ruins that if you bring someone in like a Dr. Aphra, or you bring someone in who's looking for ruins, now they're at least telling you it's not just this big desert. So even if they never bring you to the water planet of Tatooine, now you can look, there's these temples or this, city found.
Well, there's an entire lost city in Legends, the lost city of Gorfas, if I'm pronouncing it right, Ghorfas. So I mean, if you go to Wikipedia, you can look at all the different cities and locations. They even have a listing of all the spots on the pod race circuit.
Oh, cool.
Or the pod race track.
Yeah.
So a lot of effort and energy has been put into Tatooine as a planet. I know I've heard some people say, "Oh, I'm so tired of Tatooine." Give me Tatooine.
Yeah.
Day after day. I mean, it can be so much fun.
Yeah, well, it's a whole planet.
Yeah, there's so much to explore with Tatooine. I mean, you've got to think we've really only seen 3 cities of an entire planet. I mean, between Mos Eisley, Mos Espa, and Mos Pelgo, or Freetown. I mean,
and at least related to Mos Espa, we've only seen bits of it, like little bits. Because in the Phantom Menace, we just saw the where the track was, and where that little the market where Jar Jar stole the frog thing hanging up and so on.
Oh, right. Well, see, I have this thing, right? This was
that from the role-playing games?
This is the West End games, which is, if you watch Rebels, that's a lot of the stuff. I don't know if Dave Filoni read the West End games or.
Oh, I would say I would bet money on that he not only read the West End game books, he probably played the games. I mean, come on now.
So you can't see this map very well, but in this map, this is I knew it was in here. This is that center is the crash. Is the junk pot, like the community junk pot.
Okay.
And these, I had the Imperial book. I really wish I would have kept it, but they got a lot of cool things. And the one thing I always remembered, I don't know if it was this book. One of the books, or no, you know what it was? I think it was the Star Wars. There was a magazine. Yeah, this talks about the crash. I should actually probably reread this. It talks about the crash over Mos Eisley. So I should have done my homework, but I just remembered that when we were talking, I was like, but one of the books I had for Mos Eisley was, it showed their traffic tower, like for ships and stuff. and it was all like Clone Wars era, like clones or robots that were all half broken down, and it never worked. That's why it was hard to get ships in and out of. I mean, to find out who was going in and out and stuff like that. So.
And for me, I'm just so amazed at the amount of attention to detail and creativity that people have put into, whether it's the game book that you're describing, the visual dictionaries or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's brilliant. And to John's point, there's no end to what's possible, really. There's so much creativity that's there and stories to tell.
When it's that love for Star Wars. It's and now we're getting people that really grew up with Star Wars. Like like there's J.J. Abrams, who I really like, and he was inspired by Star Wars. But we're getting the people that like were more than like J.J. was inspired by Star Wars, but whatever movie came out the next week, he was probably inspired by that too. Like he was a movie guy. I don't like doubt his like nerd cred or anything, but I think because all of us, we were talking. When I was thinking about this, I was thinking of playing with Star Wars figures. And there was a point in time, I think it was probably between Star Wars and Empire, that everyone had Star Wars toys. Like if you went to someone's house, you kind of gauged your friendship on what Star Wars toys they had. Like who you want to go, like, because I remember these two kids, I don't even remember their names, but I remember they had the Death Star and they had a guinea pig they used as a bantha. And I thought that was the most fun I ever had playing with Star Wars toys at their house.
Yeah, kind of a parallel to that. Obviously, we grew up at different times. However, it's still the same principle applies to like my generation. Not everyone had Star Wars toys, but everyone had a Star Wars game. The most popular was the Lego Star Wars game,
Right.
but someone had Lego Star Wars, someone had a Battlefront game, someone had the Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy games. So
the Pod Racer game?
Not as popular with my generation. However,
Okay.
I still love that game. I need to pick up the remaster for the Switch, but
see, remember there used to be a magazine called, I think it was Compute or something. And it came with a CD-ROM in it.
Some of the demos and everything.
I was too cheap to go buy the Star Wars game because my computer couldn't hold up to like the specs. Usually the demos were like dumbed down a little bit, and so I just played the crap out of that demo, the pod racing demo, because I think I needed like a different graphics card if I wanted the actual game. But yeah, pod racing was probably that, and what's the other Dark Empire? No.
Shadows of the Empire.
No, Dark Forces or something. The one that it was one of the first-person shooters made by LucasArts.
Okay.
I think it was called Dark Forces 1 and Dark Forces 2, and you play. I think it's where I don't know if that's where Dash Rendar came from.
No, he was in Shadows of the Empire.
No, he was in the Shadow of Empire.
Because that was one of the first times that they coordinated their efforts. So they had the comic series, they had the video game, and they had the expanded universe toys. Because you could buy a Dash Rendar and his Outrider ship and Princess Yijor, if I'm pronouncing it right, and so on. So that was where they really started to push in one direction with stuff. But I do remember the Dark Forces game. I didn't play it a lot, but I do remember hearing about it.
That was I'm a sound guy. Like I like watching movies, but the sound really gets me going. And it had the blaster sound. It was one of the first blaster sounds. Oh, hey, we do have a guest. There we go. Let's see if I can get him on.
Hey,
look at this guy. Hey, stranger.
I am hijacking your feed.
Yeah. So Anthony, this is John, and then
hey, John.
Ken.
Hello.
And we were talking about Tatooine, so we'll let you jump in, and and if you have any fond memories of Tatooine.
Oh.
Well, where'd you go?
I think he froze.
He froze. Do we have too much power? My computer can't handle it. Let me make sure I turn. I don't have anything extra. I know Facebook will drown your computer. I think John died there. I mean,
Oh.
I think
No,
no,
John's
John's
still here. I still see him.
Anthony
Still
is
hear him.
Anthony is froze. Let me see if I have a button I can. Oh, there he went.
I'm back. I think
There you go. Yeah, now you're back, and now you're
that was
green.
weird. Hey,
We're I started using this restream to test for Zoe's. There he froze again. You're back. You're back. But to test for Zoe's podcast. So that's my
yeah, that podcast is getting really good.
yeah, well, thank you. Anyway, so what we were talking about Tatooine, your thoughts on Tatooine, and then we were just kind of rambling about Star Wars.
Oh, I'm rambling about Star Wars all the time.
Awesome.
So, what is the topic on Tatooine? Are we talking about all the sand, or how we need to leave the planet for Kenobi, or?
Well, no, we were just talking what we liked about it. We honestly we're not as organized as real podcasts, so we were just that was our topic. We're just like, okay, let's talk about Tatooine.
We're only organized because Ken makes us get organized. You know, the interesting thing about Tatooine, right, from a production designer point of view, is that Maz Espa and Mos Eisley to me are very different kind of cities, right? And you never, you know, it's the first time you've ever tried to really see the whole city was when Shannon Fenn had that kind of graphic where she's explaining where the robot guy, the white droid guy was explaining, and these guys were here, and these guys, like, you never really understand the makeup of the city, other than just kind of walking around and randomly seeing different things. But I think, you know, it's interesting to see that the city has a life of its own, and it's got sectors controlled by different groups of people. You know, Mos Espa looks like it's a crater of some sort, which is really interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
Mos Eisley, I think it's just sticking up. You know, Mos Eisley's big feature is what? The big spaceship that's like crashed onto the side. There's like a spaceship.
That's what we were just talking about.
Are there any other Mosses? You know, are those the two biggest cities? You know,
Well, there's Mos Pelgo, Freetown,
right? That's like 5 buildings, right?
And
I got the
there are other Mosses, but they're not mentioned in the movies or in the shows.
It's what I was thinking was going to happen. And it's always dangerous to sort of put your expectations on a show because you just really should just let it play out and not think it should go this way. But what I was thinking was going to happen, having said that, was that we were going to see a lot, you know, and underwater, because they kept mentioning water is something that the Tatooine used to have, which was the first time I had ever heard that.
Same here.
And it was a direct parallel to Dune, right? Which is where the whole Star Wars thing comes from. And I think people would be shocked how close Star Wars is to Dune. It's very close, you know. Sandworms and everything. So I thought, well, are they going to introduce the underground? Not to give away any Mos Elray.
I see Mos Elray in the chat. We'll just need a big map. Ken, you gotta get on that. Make it your background has to now be a map.
I give you my word that the next one will be the map.
Yeah.
It won't be a fancy map, but
do they have underground water systems? Like, where did the water go? Right? Did it go underwater? Because I really did think that the and maybe this is where they're going. I don't know, because I thought Boba Fett's arc is really something only older people would understand, right? So I've done this thing my whole life, and you know what did I get out of it? So I want what's mine now, and what I found in my life that gets the best results is respect, ironically, and you know that's where you see like Boba Fett going in that direction, and I really thought that there was going to be, and maybe there will be, the coming together of the Sand people, the Tuskens, and coming together of the planet to kind of change what the planet is going forward. Like, it's no longer a sand planet completely. I mean, the problem is that you have Rise of Skywalker goes back to Luke's homestead and sort of reestablishes that it's sand, which is, I guess, like 25 years later. So they have, you know, maybe they can still get away with it, but not Mos Eisley.
There's a lake right on the other side. It's now lakefront property.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think it is interesting that there are a lot of sand planets, desert planets in Star Wars. There's too many of them, really, because there's the Jeddah sand planet.
Right.
There's whatever the planet was in Return of Skywalker, Rise of Skywalker, in the middle of the movie where they, you know, she runs into Lando. There, Pisana,
where they had the 42-year celebration.
Yeah. and there's a couple of other sand planets as well, and I don't know them offhand. I mean, well,
Yeah.
do where Ray was found. What is that planet
Jakku.
called?
No,
Jakku.
someone just Arc 77 just said Jakku.
Yeah, nobody's from Jakku.
Well,
Yeah.
and so I wonder what the sand planet like, and maybe because I look at Star Wars differently in the sense that it's like raises my family, and I probably think about it like most people think about religion, but I wonder what the sand planet represents. Like there is a lot of them. So what does that like? Because like for me, it represents like what Luke wanted to leave, but then it also then when Ray went back, it was nostalgia. So it was like like what part of our life or what part of a human being does the sand planet represent? You know, and like we were saying earlier before you got here, when I was talking about when I was in Death Valley, when you're in a place like that, you have to notice the beauty. And so sometimes, you know, we all want to run off and do something, and we forget what we really wanted was right there, you know, in front of our face.
Well, it's dangerous beauty, right? You have to watch your resources. You
Yep.
have a lot of time to contemplate things as you're by yourself. You really can't be alone, because that's the most dangerous thing. You get isolated and you die. But then you have to adapt, right? You have to. So I think there's a lot of things that sand planets represent. I always just wonder, why isn't it the same sand planet, right? Why isn't Jakku Tatooine? Why isn't Jeddah Jakku? You know, is there a reason why they're all different kinds of sand planets? And what?
Well,
what
if
do
I
they
had to guess for that, part of it is to expand the galaxy, expand the universe, allowing for more creatures, more philosophies, more whatever. So I think that's why they don't have everything happening on a single sand planet.
Maybe it's the bad neighborhood of every solar system. You know, like
Do you guys ever see the Painted Desert? Do you guys ever see the? So I thought, you know, these beautiful sands and colors and stuff. You know, one of these deserts, at least give it some color. You know,
yeah.
give it some color. But I do like. I feel like I know Tatooine very well now. You know, there's and there's more there than you initially thought, right? There's more there than just the desert. Like even in the desert, like in real life, there's stuff underground, and there's that Minotaur guy. Like, what is that guy?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
the
that was a big
Tuscans,
surprise.
just the Tuscans showing different tribes of the Tuscans was neat.
Yeah, are they like American Indians? Are they at war with each other? Are they completely isolated?
Because I do think, and maybe this is just the costumer in me, they made their costumes so strikingly different in the Book of Boba Fett that it had to be on purpose. Like not
Gorgeous.
just the warrior woman, but just the size of the eyes and all that. What the clothing they wore was so different than the other Tuscans.
Well, I mean, they even said it in the show that there are different tribes.
Yeah.
You know, so they mentioned that there are those differences, and so there's that piece, the cultural piece from it, and I would say that there's also the possibility that some of the differences in costume was because these Tuscans were far more agile and active than the historic Tuscans.
Right, but the ones from The Mandalorian were very similar to New Hope and Phantom Menace costumes. They had the long eye stalks, you know what I mean, from the actual, and the colors were basically the same.
Yeah, but once again, look at what they did on screen.
That's true.
They walked, and they rode on banthas, whereas, you know, with Book of Boba Fett, I mean, they were doing the fire dance. They were jumping from speeder bike to speeder bike. You know,
well,
so
I noticed the warring, at least if I remember correctly, the warring sand people are more tied to their banthas, similar to the Huns. Like the old lore of the Tuscans were, if your bantha died, you had to walk out into the desert, and if you didn't find a bantha, you died. Where it didn't seem like this tribe of Tuscans, they didn't really have that many banthas, so they seemed like that's what made me think of them as more of like a farmer type tribe and less of like the warring type tribe. Which I could be 100% wrong, but in my mind, that's what I'm saying. Now, Anthony's the only one that doesn't have a costume. So we have 3 costumers here. We got to get Anthony in a costume.
I keep offering. Just got to get him to take me up on the idea.
Man, we lost your sound, Anthony. Oh, there we go.
I feel worthless.
I don't know. Look, I have two costumes done, but I have all this crap behind me. So
What I would
It's-
like to see Anthony do is take some of the art that he's created and make a costume out of that, because that's some wonderful stuff.
Oh dear. Yeah.
The one costume that you showed me a drawing that you did once of a character head to toe in black armor. I always thought that would have been a cool costume.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, I haven't drawn in a while.
you can do a Kenner. There's guys doing Kenner figure costumes, like life-size Kenner figure costumes.
I've seen some of them. I've seen some of them. They're pretty. They're all great, right? They're all great. My skills don't extend into 3D, as my sculpture class teacher would tell you. I used to be able to do 2D stuff, and I was a designer, so I designed stuff for movies and TV, and I would design costumes, but I can't make them at all. And I say that as someone who's never tried, but I'm pretty sure.
I have one big problem. I don't know when I'm in too far, and usually when I'm in too far, I just got to figure it out. So
Now you just go for it. Like, that's the good thing. Like, I see the stuff that you build all the time, and you just go for it.
well, I got two girls that I have to, the downside of raising your kids with Star Wars, you have to live up to the hype.
Well, you should take some motivation from John too. I mean, look at how much John got done in 2 weeks. You should.
Yeah,
John, flash your helmet for Anthony.
Well, that helmet's like a week though, wasn't it? It was only just printed.
Oh my God. Holy shit, that's awesome.
Yeah, well, it's been printed for about a month, and then I finally started finishing it about a week or 2 weeks ago.
That's incredible. I like that design too. That wraparound head, sort of that halo kind of thing wrapped around. That's pretty neat.
Oh, yeah,
Hunter just
that's a nice one, too.
sitting nearby.
Are you guys going to Celebration?
I am.
So I have Thursday, Friday tickets, but I'm really disappointed that I feel like I don't know anything about this year's Celebration at all.
Yeah, well, you know what? So in years past, I've usually had good contact with them because Zoe's done panels in the last two, and so they've usually. And this year, like, I submitted for panels, I submitted for all that, and I'm not hearing anything. And it just, I don't know if it's because of all, like, they're waiting to see what California does with restrictions and all that. I don't know. I just, and we'll see. I mean, I'm not going to be taking a costume, so it's going to be weird. But
so I can tell you this news. I found out because Ken knows I submitted for an art panel, the Art of Star Wars Games.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm trying to figure out how to say this without giving people in trouble. We got approved, and then Lucasfilm wouldn't allow us to do it.
Really?
Yep. So the Reed Pop people that run the convention, they said, yeah, let's do it. But because we had a Lucasfilm member joining us, they put the kibosh on him.
Oh.
So, I will not be doing a panel at the convention this year, but I'm still attending. I just don't know, like, any of the details. I feel like it's sort of, because when they moved the date up, it really threw everything for a tizzy. I mean, that was really a surprise. I've never seen anyone move a date up ever.
Right.
You've only seen it like delayed or move back. So,
well, yeah. What wasn't the first? The original one was supposed to be last August, right? It was supposed to be
I don't even remember anymore.
It was supposed to be August 2021 because I had tickets or something or whatever. And and then they moved it up, and because I was supposed to work for Jordan Hembrough, and that changed. Luckily, I had already bought my tickets because, at first they're like, "Oh no, you come work for me," and I just bought mine. I just don't trust. I need tickets in hand. I don't want to trust having anything that's not. My kids would kill me if I didn't have tickets.
So you got all of the tickets?
Yeah, I got them, but I have my receipt from the original ones, and I didn't turn mine in. I didn't, when people were selling them back, I didn't sell mine back, but I haven't heard. I called them yesterday and today, and I finally got through to someone. And
you did? You have a number?
It's on their website. I don't have, my phone's not down here. It's on, if you go to Reed Pop, go to contact, and you'll get this really terrible menu that sounds like a really bad protocol droid. And then it'll say press this number for this. So I just pressed till I got an operator. But she did, she just had a pat answer. She was like, well, because I said I need to know about the panels because I got to set up a guest. If Zoe has a panel, I always like to have at least 1 or 2 guests in case someone backs out, and I got to know all that. And she's like, well, they're still making decisions. So I'm like, okay. So
It's really late to make decisions.
well, I was looking. So last time when it was in April, they had totally informed us on everything at the end of January. When we went in 2000, was it 17? That was Zoe's first panel. We knew everything by the end of January. So they're running like if I would know by next week, they'd be about on the same time schedule. So I figure mid-March, they're just running a few weeks behind, which I'm fine with that. Like I said, it just makes a big difference because I don't know if Lizzie is going to be able to go because she goes to culinary school in New York, and they go complete all the way through. They don't get like spring break or anything like that or summer break. They just
That stinks.
I think John and I'll just be streaming it on YouTube, right, buddy?
Yep.
They just do a 3-year. Well, I think she goes to CIA, Culinary Institute of America, and I
That's
think
cool.
they do like a 3-year program. Well, it's weird. So, and this has nothing. So if I'm boring you guys, just tell me to shut up. It's weird. I had to redo all the girls' podcasts a couple years ago. I had to go make sure there was no copyrighted music because when we started, I figured Zoe was like 13. I figured we'll do this for like 12 times and then we'll do something else. And it's weird when I had to re-listen to them all, hearing 13 and 14-year-old girls talk about what they wanted to do with their life, and they're actually getting to do it. I like what they were talking about doing when they were 13 and 14 years old. Because Zoe graduates in December. She'll graduate from film school. So
are you saying there's hope for me to be able to do what I want to do in life in 8 to 10 years?
I didn't.
That's what podcasting will get me.
I didn't figure it out till I was in my 30s. So and I don't know. Sometimes I told my students today they were making me question some of my life decisions because they just were. They were
Good Lord, that's me every day, man.
I'm hoping that John Favreau and Kathleen Kennedy and George Lucas, when they're done listening to this episode, just call us up and say, hey, we would like to host once a year at Skywalker Ranch a Thank the Fans Day, where the fans can come in, in small batches, and we thank them for being fans. So I just want, so Kathleen, when this episode is over, I'd like you to, send out those emails and make those arrangements with us to help you organize that kind of an event.
They'll see my dumbass TikTok that calls us all 3 dumbasses, and it'll.
Oh yeah, that'll get noticed.
Dumbass to work day.
Yeah, and my business email is.
Well, I did see. I got my other thing that makes me jealous of my own kid was when they did that story on Zoe. But when Matt Martin was here, he said that George Lucas's people showed George Lucas Zoe's episode.
That's
and
cool.
I told Zoe, I said, I'm fine. I don't need anything else to happen to me Star Wars related. I'm done. I'm full. I'm good. That makes I can die a happy man. Now if she can just get an internship at Lucasfilm, then that'll her head.
Yeah. Well, you probably set that up if you want. I mean, I don't know.
She's applied to a couple, and she got 2 interviews with Lucasfilm. On the one, she got her first interview, and they said, you're not qualified for this job, but we'd like you to give you a second interview just to meet the people. So she didn't get it, but she was really happy with what, what their feedback and getting to talk to them. So,
Yeah, it's always who you know out there, and it's really hard. Like I was offered a job there 3 years ago.
And look, Lucasfilm just locked up his thing.
Yeah, they just you've been
we can't let this get out.
Yeah, you can't tell this story. The closest I ever got was I applied for a job at Lucasfilm, and on May the 4th, they sent me a thank you for applying letter.
Do you have that frame?
Not yet. I haven't printed. I should. I should put that on my wall in my office now. But yeah.
I'm sorry. I got it. I'm learning the software. Now you were just saying you cut you off as soon as you said you're Lucasfilm. We thought Lucasfilm cut you off.
Yeah, I got a job offer at Lucasfilm a couple of years, it's 4 years now. And my wife and I looked at the housing market there in San Francisco, and it's just crazy. Like you can't afford to live there.
Right.
It doesn't matter what you can make $500,000 a year. The homes are still $2 million. So it's so expensive, and for someone my age, it's just too much work. Like you can't, because the people that I know that work there, some of them are thinking of leaving because it's so you're working there 12 hours a day forever, and it's just different when you do it for a profession. It's not as fun.
Well, that's also a 20-year-old's game.
Yeah, and it should be. I think I want to just enjoy it at this point, not do it.
Well, I see. I know. So I'm a teacher, so it's funny because our internship is called student teaching. We have to pay for it. When Zoe applied for this one, she said the money for the internship was a $5,000 signing bonus and $35 an hour. I was like, what?
Whoa, wait, what?
That's 3 times what I make an hour.
Right.
That's not an internship. That's not how internship works.
Yeah, that was for the internship. I was like, what? So, but she'll be in LA, so they work out of the I think it's the Warner Brothers lot for Temple. And then the production company, Monkey Deuce or something, that did the production for our Star Wars stories, they told Zoe when she comes out to California to look them up, and they might have a spot for her as an intern too. So.
Oh, that'd be great.
So I don't know where, again, and that guy was really cool to her. So everyone that's met her has been pretty cool to her. So.
There must be some directory of production companies somewhere, and those names are just the greatest. Like they're the weirdest names of all the names out there.
Well, I was amazed when you see these production companies and the amount of money that they spend to do these little things. Like I guess I'm used to being in a school where, like, if I want to do something, I have to, like, I have a robotics team. I was scrounging money. I finally got a little bit of money from the local VFW just to buy tires for our robot.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, my son's on a robotics team. That's
really?
A great thing.
Is he in First Tech Challenge or First Lego League or the bigger one, the big robotics one?
He's I don't know, because my company sponsors it. He's in the high school league. I'm
in the middle school.
Name of it.
He just
started. They went through a competition at the beginning of the month, and I think they were like the middle of the pack, so which is good. It's just I think it's good.
We finally got. It
doesn't matter they're about it. They're good. Learning the skill is so important. I don't want to get it off on a tangent, but if people don't know tech at this point, it's going to be trouble in the future. You need to know some sort of technology in order to survive in the next economy.
Well, in my job, I'm the computer science teacher, but I'm also the person in charge of training teachers, which is really cool. It's kind of weird because I'm twice as old as most of the new teachers, and a lot of the younger people, I think cell phones, this has nothing to do with Star Wars, I'm sorry, but cell phones kind of stumped a lot of people in technology because they had a choice. Their parents had a choice. I can get you a cell phone or a computer, but not both. And most kids pick cell phones. Like I have more computer illiterate kids now than I did 10 years ago, just because of the way technology is.
And it makes everything's easier, right? Like it used to be when we had a Commodore 64 and Amiga 500, we used to try to, SYS 64738, and that was a code to bypass the security on a Commodore. Like, so you had all these things that you learned, and every computer was different. And now these computers are beautiful. I mean, I'm looking at like the Mac I'm looking at here. You can't see it, obviously.
Yeah.
The blue iMac, it's gorgeous, but it's also like a sheet. It's really just a big phone at this point, right?
Yep.
It's invisible technology X, and it just works.
Teachers call you master?
Oh
no, they only call me when something broke.
Okay.
The only plus side. So bring it back to Star Wars. The only plus side, like today, I got observed by my principal, and my room.
That sounds inappropriate.
Well, yeah, no, we get observed like you have to basically fight for your job every year. But my one whole wall is nothing but Star Wars quotes. My back wall is nothing but 501st pictures and Star Wars posters. My other wall is nothing but Marvel pictures and Marvel posters and I have it's a diversity when I have all that for my students of color and stuff. And then I have a He-Man display. And then I have nothing but pictures of my kids in Star Wars armor. And then I have a bulletin board dedicated to our Star Wars stories and all the positivity and stuff like that. And all my principal said is, you're a character, but I like what I see. So I'm like, okay, because I have no school stuff on my walls whatsoever. You know, because kids don't.
Good for you.
So did you call your classroom the nerd den? Like what do the students call it?
No, they just, you know what the students are fascinated by? I have a table in the front of the room. It's an IKEA table. Like I use it like a podium kind of thing. And my wife, she's a teacher too. Well, she had it in her classroom, and some kid carved a penis in the top of it.
Awesome.
So I just started covering it with stickers. So over the years, this entire table is covered with nothing but Star Wars stickers in my room. And that's what all the kids want to come and see. Because it's just like I'd go to Dollar Tree and buy a pack of stickers. And then at the end of every year, I just cover it with Mod Podge. And so now it looks like a piece of Art Deco with just nothing but Star Wars stickers everywhere. So that's what they want to see.
It's funny that you mentioned stickers because I finally got my stickers back.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you're talking about.
Hold that up to the screen a little more. Hold that up. Oh, you have that fancy background stuff.
Hey, what?
There we go.
So that's
Nice.
one of them, and then the other one is missing from the desk. But instead of the stock being on this side, this is the helmet for the kit I'm working on. The other one, my other helmet, has the stock on the left side, and it looks like Boba Fett's helmet, except the stock is on the opposite side.
Nice.
So
You're the only one I know that has their own stickers.
it's
man.
cool.
I
So
started
cool.
I started posting up all the patches and coins that I got over the years, and I have a whole tub of stickers. Like when we went to Celebration and people were getting pictures with Sappion or 000, they were just handing me stickers. You know, so that's what I am going to miss about Celebration this year because I can't take costumes and I don't trust the airlines with my costumes, and I just can't. I can't put 000 on a truck with Mandalorians either. I'm sorry. I don't trust the heat for that resin. It'll be like a pancake when I get there.
I just looked up the California travel restrictions.
Yeah.
And apparently they're all gone. So I mean, not travel, COVID restrictions. So the mask mandate has been recalled. So there shouldn't be any limitations on Star Wars Celebration.
Good. The only thing they were complaining about a month ago was there was a rule that you couldn't wear a helmet.
Mm-hmm.
Did you hear that, Ken? Like you couldn't wear a helmet.
Unfortunately, there are
to a Star Wars convention.
There are some folks that I'm tangentially connected with who were very vocal about that, and it was just a bunch of whining and belly aching and complaining about this rule, which on one hand I understand the frustration. You know,
Right.
they want to go and show off this costume that they spent so much time, effort, and energy on, and they're forgetting the reason why that decision was made.
Right. Yeah, no one was making it like just to be jerks.
Yeah, but essentially that's what the person who was belly aching made it seem like those folks are just a bunch of jerks and worse. Like,
yeah, because the rule was you had to wear a mask. You know, a whatever cloth mask,
face covering.
Face covering, but you couldn't wear a helmet that made it impossible to see if you were wearing a mask. If that makes sense.
Well, part of it is, I mean, if you really think about it, you can't trust most people.
Well, that's more a commentary on the people too.
Yeah, I mean, go to any supermarket and look at how many shopping carts are scattered around when they have 53 of those shopping cart little return bins, but people push the shopping carts up into the median or turn it sideways and then
I push it into the newest car in the parking now.
But should that be gone now that the restrictions are lifted?
It might be, and that could be part of it, and that's where I think for Celebration at least, I think, which I don't think they're doing a good job at communicating, but I also think there's some companies that were never set up to communicate because of COVID. You know, because I would imagine ReedPop probably runs on a shoestring budget. You know, because they make their money in cons, and if they haven't done any cons in a while, you know, they don't have like extra people floating around. So they're probably just waiting until they know more, because the last thing you want to do is to say everyone, okay, guess what? You don't have to wear a mask. And then 2 weeks later, they say you have to wear a mask. So they're probably trying to make sure they have it all I mean, because they're probably going to lift masks in Maryland. I teach in Maryland. They're probably going to lift masks next week for schools.
Yeah, they're lifting them here in New Jersey. But you probably know that already. But New Jersey, our kids don't have to wear the mask next week.
Yeah, my wife. They just started yesterday. They don't have to wear masks. They
So
can still
John, we talked about Tatooine and we talked about projects that we're working on. What was one of the other Star Wars topics you wanted to chat through?
Well, all I was gonna, I mean, kind of just wanted to gauge to see what everyone's like upcoming Lucasfilm project they're most excited for. Like me personally, I'm really looking forward to Kenobi and Andor.
So back to Tatooine is what you're saying? You want to go back to Tatooine?
Yeah,
Kenobi?
Yeah, pretty much.
Do you think Kenobi's going to take place in other places? Do you think he's going to go off planet?
I mean, just based on the concept art we've seen thus far with Vader and Vader and Kenobi, I feel like we're at least going to see Mustafar in some capacity, maybe the early stages of Vader's castle. But I don't see any reason not to leave Tatooine.
The rumors say that it takes place in Alderaan and other places too, right? I think we're going to see something. I think we're going to see something it's not. I mean, Lucasfilm knows we don't want to film an entire year of shows on the desert, right? So
Right.
I'm not going to have expectations, but I'm pretty sure we're not going to only see Tatooine.
I still think the premise of the show is him diverting any kind of attention to Luke, and if that makes him have to leave Tatooine, like before they had the shows that we have now. When I first heard about the Kenobi, when they were just like when it was a rumor beyond rumors way back when, I pictured him more of like that old kung fu TV show.
The David Carradine one?
Yeah, like I pictured Obi-Wan Kenobi kind of like just circling where Luke lived and like keeping the peace so it brought no, as he would say, imperial entanglements. Like he kind of just he was almost like the man with no name. That was my initial picture. But now that we've had the Mandalorian there and we've had Boba Fett there, now I picture it maybe again it's just his main goal to keep people away from knowing he's alive and keeping people away from Luke. And I don't know how I feel about the Vader showdown. I personally would rather see Vader always thinking he's going to catch Obi-Wan and wind up catching a different Jedi. Because I don't know. I go back and forth. I trust the guys making it because I don't know how to make movies. I trust whatever they do. I'm sure I'll love. But like right now, not knowing anything, I'd rather them not face off. Personally, but I'm looking forward to that one too, John.
Who else do you think's going to show up beyond Vader and Kenobi?
Well, there's still a lot of Jedi out there. You have Voss, you have some bounty hunters. You could have like Vader send bounty hunters and Obi-Wan has to kill them so they don't know it's Obi-Wan. You could even have a Yoda. You could have a one episode Yoda like they did with the Mandalorian. On Dagobah or something.
Yeah, you really don't know what they're going to do. Yeah, you really don't. And
I think all the shows are billing so all the ones that are in the same time period kind of are going to dovetail together. Like I don't know. I've said this last week and I'll say it again. I just wish they would come out with a Wednesday Star Wars show and you don't know what you're getting. You turn it on and this week it's Boshak right before he met Obi-Wan and Luke. It's Boshak trying to talk to Han or something. That guy with the sideburns.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, or Boshak could be breaking up with his girlfriend. It could be that woman from Mandalorian.
Bellimato.
Yeah.
The project I'm looking forward to the most is a sequel to Jedi Fallen Order.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Well,
So I think that's where I think that's going to be something that's what I'm looking forward to because that game was really, really good.
You're looking forward to that more than Eclipse?
Well, it's this year, right? I think, what was the question John said? Was this year?
Yeah.
No, just in general.
Well, I thought is Eclipse coming out this year or next year?
I think
Eclipse is next year.
Oh, okay.
Off the record, I'll tell you what I heard about Eclipse. I mean, off the broadcast, but No, the games are really good. I mean, and the games I spent. I mean, I look forward to, like, you know, like Mike just said, wake up Monday, you know, Wednesdays at 5 a.m. because I don't want Twitter to ruin everything.
Yeah.
I'm just happy that there any stuff is out there at all. You know, I just recently watched Boba Fett again from the beginning to end, and it's one of those things that I read somebody said today that they rewatched Rise of Skywalker. They didn't like it before, and they rewatched it, and they said, you know what? I really love it, but it took them a couple of watches to like it like that. You ever hear like a song that you don't like at first, and then for some reason something like clicks?
Yeah.
Well, I really liked the Book of Boba Fett when I watched it. I really, really liked it. But when I watched it again, I loved it. Because now, like, especially the finale, which I've watched like 5 times, you don't have the same sort of, you don't anticipate what's going to happen. You know what's going to happen, and you're looking for certain things, like that dude that spins around, right? It's when I first saw it, I'm like, that's ridiculous. And now when I see it, I'm like, that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
You
Well,
know,
and speaking of that guy, did you ever notice how his blaster fired?
Yes.
That
I
was
love the attention
So it
to
almost like the
detail.
top part charged, and then the bolt came out. So
That's
it
why he spun
glowed.
around.
I didn't know that.
And it was a purple blaster bolt. It wasn't a red. It wasn't a green. It wasn't a blue. I thought it was purple. So I
It
thought it
makes
was
a
really
strange
neat.
noise. I know that the noise it makes is different.
And I think you bring up an interesting point about, you know, watching it again and again and again. And maybe that's just because I'm so used to doing that I just expect other folks to do that.
Yeah.
And I think one of the most disappointing parts about whether it was The Mandalorian or even the Book of Boba Fett, they would watch one episode or one chapter and they'd say, this is lame, this is stupid, we don't, you know, it doesn't make any sense. Well, they're not taking in the whole. It's like, you know, picking literally one chapter out of a book and judging your perspective or your perception of that book based on just that single chapter. I don't think Star Wars works that way.
Well, and I also, and I know, I always say this, I take Star Wars way too seriously. Like, again, this, hopefully if we keep this going within a month, we'll be able to be recording from the interior of the Falcon when that room's done over there. So,
Oh, that's cool.
But it's just, I just think of the word fan as fanatic, and so I know I'm fanatical about it, and I appreciate my wife for putting up with it. But if you're not, I guess I'm just too old. Just don't talk about what you don't like. I mean, you can critique stuff, and if you're a critic or something, maybe. But if you focus on the things you like and that you can get just as much joy out of, you can dislike a whole show, but find that one part you like, or just don't watch. Pick something else. There's so much fandom out there. There's so many things you can find compared to, you know, when I was a kid.
I will never understand ever this whole millennial generation of complaining first. You know, I would never get it. Just don't watch it. You know, don't watch it. Like, I'm not going to complain about shows I don't like because I'm not watching them.
Right. And we had, when we were kids, we had like 4 channels out of Philly, you know, and then if you had like a wire antenna that stretched on aluminum foil, we could get one from Harrisburg. So, and that's all the shows you had, you know. And VCR, like, I would just remember the first time I saw color TV, I was in middle school because my grandfather, he just had black and white TVs. So I was just happy for color, you know.
My favorite question. So when Derek was younger, he just celebrated his 17th birthday. When he was younger, he actually asked his mom while we were driving in the car at one point, "Mom, when you were a kid, was there color?"
No,
I've had students ask that.
I just thought there was and I laughed because Heather's younger than I am, but he asked her if there was color when she was a kid. Because he had seen a couple black and white movies, old black and white movies, and he thought that they were filmed in color, but they didn't have color then. He thought that, you know, everything was black and white in those days.
What was that movie where everyone was black and white? Pleasantville?
Pleasantville?
Was it Pleasantville?
The Road to Pleasantville or something like that?
I don't know. There was a town, and they were all in black and white, you know.
Yeah.
Well, one of my first computers was my first expensive computer was a Radio Shack
TRX-80?
Tandy 1000 EX.
Oh God.
And it came with a monochrome monitor because I didn't have the money. I mean, I saved up. It was like $900 plus $50 for the monitor, and I played a game called Space Quest by Sierra Games. I don't know if you ever played those.
I have.
I could not win that game because with the monochrome monitor, I couldn't see one of the exits because it was like black and dark. I played that game for months, and then Missy, who's my wife now, she bought a color computer, and back then they came on 2 discs, so I had the 5 1/4, and she had the 3 1/2. So when we were at home, we'd play, at each other's house, and I was like, wait, there's an exit there because mine was, monochrome. So it is weird how things have changed in games, and like Vader. Have you played Vader Immortal?
On the Quest, yeah.
On the we bought one of those for Zoe. Just it wasn't really a Christmas present. It was just because she just did so well in school. We just had to like give her another thank you. And I played that Vader Immortal. I'm glad she takes it to school because I would never get done. I'd get fired from my job because I would just play that all night.
The Tandy 1000, my God, that's the successor to the TRS 80. I'm looking at it now.
My first computer was a TI 99 4A with a cassette tape. So I would save my games on a 5-minute cassette tape in '83.
And your phone probably has more memory than that computer ever did.
Don't you think though? Don't you think? And I'm gonna be a little ageist against John here. John, you probably did not experience this stuff, but when we used to, so I had a Commodore 64. I forget if it was the Amiga or the Commodore. Anyway, the drive, the 1541 drive, was so loud. It was a floppy disk drive, right? It was 5 1/4. Is that what it was?
Yeah,
it was so loud that if you didn't put a pillow on it to muffle the sound, my mother would come in at night and like, what are you doing playing games? Like you couldn't hide it because this drive was so loud, like it was. And it's like midnight, and I'm like, oh my God, no, because nobody had white noise back then. So I mean, these are the things we lived with, John. That you just. And
I had a special tool where you could take that 5 1/4 drive and punch a hole in it, so you could literally flip it and record on the other side.
Yeah, I heard about those things.
Yeah, and they were terrible because we had special boxes when I went my first year of college. We had special boxes you would put your discs in because when you went through the magnetic things to check for library books, it would erase your disc drive.
Oh.
So you had to buy this special box to put your.
The struggle was real.
Yeah. Oh, and the old Star Wars games, as much as I fondly remember them, some of those old Atari games and stuff, and when I tried playing them, I'm like, oh man, this really seemed. I should not have played it later in life because it really ruined some of the gaming. Because they literally just. The only reason you knew it was Star Wars was because a couple of the shapes kind of looked Star Warsy, and they put Star Wars on the box.
The shapes look Star Warsy.
Yeah,
they attempted to use some of the soundtrack, but it didn't necessarily translate well.
That 16-bit sound is rough too.
Blood said to sing Rebel Assault. Rebel Assault was a great game.
Yeah.
Is Exegol a sand planet? Huh. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, it is kind of black sandy.
Well, what was the red?
At least, different. Even if it is a sand planet, at least it's so different that it's a different. The black color makes it look like a different kind of planet that isn't just the same as all the other 4 that we're grouping together.
Well, I'm going with my theory that the sand planet, because if you think about, so I remember not right after seeing Star Wars, we were learning about. I was in 5th. I was 9 or 10, however, whatever grade you're in. We were learning about the planets, and we had to do a project for school. And so my project was I made a baseball card for every planet, and I made a creature that would live on that planet. I don't think I got a good grade on because my artwork was terrible, but I remember I thought Star Wars, like, okay, Mars is really hot, so I made creatures that looked like a sand planet. You know what I mean, and stuff like that. So,
oh my God, I thought I loved Star Wars. So Empire at War, I played Empire at War one time. When I first got married, I had my old college roommate drop by, Bill Morrison, and we played Empire at War for 24 straight hours. And my wife just didn't understand who I was.
Well, that was similar. Wasn't that similar to like the old Warcraft? Wasn't the Empire at War similar to like the old Warcraft? Like you would build things and they would produce.
Yeah, well,
like,
Empire at War is just it's it's one of those, it's a real time video game, right?
Yeah.
So what's crazy is Empire at War was so popular, and then they never made it again.
Yeah.
And it was a really popular game. But when I played it against, we couldn't stop playing because as soon as we would finish one match, we would start another one, and then start another one, and then it's like best out of 3, best out of 5, best out of 7, best out of 55, But we played it like he was over for like a day and a half, and we played the entire time Empire at War because you can have conversations while playing the game.
Yeah.
But
Well,
they are all Dark Forces. My God, Jedi Academy, Rebel Assault, Star Wars Galaxies. Don't forget Rogue Squadron.
Oh, Star Wars Galaxies. Oh man, that was I was a Mac guy by then, so I didn't get to play it. Like I was on their list to join it, and then I switched over to Mac, and they didn't make a Mac server at first for Star Wars Galaxy.
I played TIE Fighter versus X-Wing forever.
Yeah.
I mean that was a great game.
I just rebought them on Steam, X-Wing and TIE Fighter. Not nearly as good as I remember either, but they were.
Nothing ever is.
I just thought my mind told me the graphics were way better than they were. So,
Anthony, I wholeheartedly beg to differ. Lego Star Wars: A Complete Saga stands the test of time. Still my all-time favorite game of any genre.
Is that the Lego one?
100%.
Oh yeah, the Lego.
I go back to that game.
The one
all
that's
the time.
coming out, the one that's coming out, the Skywalker Saga.
The one before it.
No, I'm talking about the one that's coming out, like that's kind of the sequel to the one that John just mentioned. I wasn't that interested in that game until I saw the trailer. They had a very deep look at the game like 2 days ago.
Mm.
You have to be nuts not to buy that game.
Yeah.
It looks fantastic.
Yeah,
And
I
now
see the next 2 years of my life going into that and 100%ing that.
Yeah, you're gonna get every single one, right? Every single character that's you have to
Jedi
wonder
collector,
how characters.
where you get all the studs.
Yeah, I always liked those, except when the girls were little. Zoe wanted to pick up every little coin, so before they made the one where you could split off, and she'd be dragging the screen. I'm like, oh, we got to kill these guys, and she'd have to collect every little coin.
Now, John, have you noticed that the Lego games are getting harder, which is good? Because
Yes.
the Lego games go through the same path as Star Wars animated shows, right? Like they first come out, they're like, well, these are for kids, right? And then somewhere in the middle, they're like, you know what? Screw it, make it for adults. And I feel like the Lego games are going through that same sort of like path.
Well, I think part of that is because they want to maintain when the kids played it, this new game, they want it to be fun for those people that were kids, but they need more of a challenge. So they were 5 when the first one came out. They're 15 or 25 when the next one comes out, or whatever it is. So they're still trying to maintain the connection to the fans and bring new people into it. And I think you can adjust the difficulty on those games too, can't you?
I believe on the newer ones you can, but I tried playing the new Marvel Superheroes game, and I was impressed by not only the level of detail, but the difficulty. It's like, wow, I thought I was going to breeze through this in an afternoon, but it took me a week or so to beat it.
You mean the one with you play is the one that I like that game. The one that didn't do so well though. That's the one that had Miss Marvel in it.
Yeah,
Marvel. Miss Marvel. I like that game quite a bit, but yeah, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy at all. I play this game, so I have on the mobile game. I play the Star Wars mobile game that is actually surprisingly good. You may not be able to play it. So Lego Star Wars, unless you have an Apple subscription, it's called. I'll put it up on the screen here. It is called Star Wars Battle.
Oh, there you go.
Right. So it's Clash of Clans. Right.
Oh,
okay.
Star Wars. I mean, it's an exact copy of Clash of Clans, but with Star Wars. No, I shouldn't know. Clash of Clans, the other one. Clash of what is the other one? Let me just start a battle. The other one, Clash of.
But it's similar to
yeah, I know what you're talking about. That's
Clash
the one.
Royale. It is Clash Royale clone. I'm going to walk you through it here, right? So you pick your planets. Oh, there you go. I'm just going to screw that right now. Hit battle. You pick your planets. Jakku. I don't have Endor unlocked yet. When you go here, check this out. This is really cool. You upgrade your lasers, you upgrade your troops, like everything else. Now, this game is not. I don't think this game is available if you aren't an Apple subscriber, which really stinks. This is a great game, and you battle against other players, and then as you make these, it's Clash Royale, and you make these players.
cool.
You see that, and then you just drag them out here, and then keep doing it.
I can't wait until that
The
the game
graphics
that
are
comes
great.
out for the Switch, the
I
Star
need
Wars
one more
Hunters,
thing
I
to
think
run my
it's called.
battery down. All right,
Which
someone
one,
asked
Ken?
if we saw the Liam Neeson news. Is that he's going to be in Kenobi?
Is it a
possibly?
rumor though? I'm so disappointed. Sometimes I'm disappointed with the rumors because I mean Han Solo was supposed to be.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That
Well,
makes me sad.
it says he's confirmed in Kenobi. So I'm at the point now
Nice.
where unless I see it on StarWars.com, because there's so much clickbait, and unfortunately, even some of the more reputable sites lately have just been using clickbait as their source. You know, and I mean, what is it? A broken clock is right twice a day. You know, and so I think some of the clickbait gets it right just enough to I did wear my Cantina shirt for our Tatooine. Or well, it's Scum and Villainy, so it's not anywhere near a desert planet, but I did wear that.
Yeah, making Star Wars is. I watched. I love that one. That's very reliable.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's Jason. Jason?
Yeah.
Making Star Wars? Yeah, Jason, because I think I don't know if Zoe was on his show or something years ago.
Oh, really?
I think it's Making Star Wars. That's Jason, and because Sal used to be on it, Lizzie's dad. So
Yeah, that's a very good one. And he also makes another one for like Stranger Things now, I think.
oh, okay.
No, he's great.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah,
really
I mean,
dedicated. His passion, like real passion, and he's got a massive amount of fans. Like when he does those
Yeah.
live streams, there's like 25,000 people on those things.
Yeah, that's good. We get, what do we get? 2 today? 3? Which I appreciate you too. Not, this is only we don't even know what this is, what we're doing. Again, what I was saying when you first came on,
We're hanging out.
I got this software to test for Zoe for doing live, just because she's been expanding her website on her own. Like her first couple years, I was kind of like, I don't know to say I was pushing her, but I was telling her, if you want to do it, you got to do it right. And now she just pretty much runs it on her own. And her biggest stumbling block now is Lizzie runs such a tight schedule, like with her because her college is like compact, that they have a hard time getting together. And so.
Hey, Mike,
Well,
you're getting some big compliments here.
Oh yeah, well thank you. Yeah. Well, I mean, again, I work with people that don't really know anything about Star Wars. I work in Maryland. They just eat crap.
Can't believe you have to put up with that.
So, and my wife she's a much bigger fan than she lets on, and Ken will attest to this. Any wife or spouse that will go to an event when I'm dressed in a costume and help all the people in costumes, and like we've done, and my wife's a fairly shy person. We've done televised parades where the only person you can recognize walking down the street is my wife, because she's the only one not in costume watching, helping out. And then John has met Safi. I don't think you met Zoe yet.
Hmm.
I told her to give you a call, but she's she was on RA duty all week, so she's pretty particular with her.
RA duty is not easy.
Well, she
Everyone hates you.
Yeah. Well, see,
Well, you get your own room. That's one benefit of it.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what Zoe has done. She did Star Wars night in her building for her kids, and she does, her floor is all it's one of the only all-female floors of film and acting students. So she's kind of taken it under their wing. And Temple.
So she's already got dramatic people on her floor, is what you're saying.
Yeah. But she's had pretty good luck with it.
That's all you need.
And well, it's funny was with Temple, just 2.5 years ago, they just decided that it was a good idea to kind of introduce the film people to the drama people, which I thought that would be like the first thing you would do. Look, if you need actors for your show, then we have them in the drama department. So, but she also, she produces their equivalent of Saturday Night Live. She's the producer of the Temple
really?
Smash. It's called. So she took one of the producing jobs, and she has fun with that too. So, but I don't.
Did they ever put that on? Did they put that online?
Yeah, it's on YouTube. It's called Temple Smash. I don't understand it because I'm not like I'm like, it reminds me of Saturday Night Live, but the sketches I don't know if I'm just too old for college humor or
Well, you also might not be at Temple. Sometimes they might do those inside.
Well, that's what I think.
Kind of
Some of them are. I think some of them are a little more inside for me, but she does a good job. Like I look at it from the production standpoint, So I'm happy. I'm just happy my kids are doing what they want to do. Like that's. I was never given that option growing up. Like if it was, we were expected to get a job that made money. Like you had to go to a building and make money. And if you didn't, then you were a failure. That was, and we don't really give a shit what your feelings are, So.
Yeah, Mike, be glad your children are the exception, not the rule. Speaking from personal experience.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, but you're that way too, John. So like maybe you just hang. You got to hang with us people. You got to come east a little more.
Yeah.
That's Mike said he has
thinking.
Room in his lawn for a tent.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
I don't know. Long term might not, but
hey, I'm no stranger to sleeping in my car.
Yeah, I know. Well, man, I said it last week. I was so worried after that film shoot we did because you were awake for what 48 hours straight.
Yep.
And then
you're coming back in March, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I already got
we'll be back in March.
I got the days work around.
Yeah, Matt's a character. I like to have things a little more organized than him. That's just me, but that's his artistic thing. It's maybe because I'm a teacher. Like I have to plan what second I take a leak at school. So,
yeah, you never see teachers go to the bathroom. Yeah, you're right.
It's funny because like my day is planned. Like if I set my bag down in the wrong spot, it throws my day off. Like I have my steps planned. Like, okay, look, I got to get this copy now. But when I'm doing that, I'm going to drop this off, and this off because I have 17 minutes to get all this printed, eat my lunch, stop and see the principal, and then go pick my students back up. So.
You're a looper. I love it.
So I have to make sure that every step counts. And then the best advice someone gave me when I started teaching was, when you're in the hallway walking somewhere, carry papers with you, and people won't bother you. So I do that too. So because then they look like you're going somewhere. So hopefully, there's no my teacher friends are, they don't know what to think of me. But
you mentioned about your wife going to events with you. Is there any event that really sticks out in your memory as one of those super cool moments where the whole family was involved, including your wife?
Yes, I know exactly. It was the Weird Al concert in Washington, PA. So it's almost out in Ohio. I think it was 2012. The girls were still doing Jawas, and normally when Weird Al comes, they fill up the spots to dance on stage with him, and they couldn't get enough guys. This was like 2 months out, and so I said to the head of our group, I said, "Look, I will take my daughters out, and they will do it so we meet the the qualifications of how many people we need. But I said, you can't cancel my kids. Like if I'm committing now, I don't want some guy 2 weeks before saying, hey, I can do it all of a sudden." And so we went to that Weird Al concert, and it's on YouTube, and you can see my girls dancing as Jawas on stage, and they were
awesome.
They were so happy. They got to meet Weird Al, and it was funny because everyone was getting Weird Al's autograph, and the girls had cards of themselves as Jawas. They didn't care about getting his autograph. They give him their card, So that was one of my first experiences with Weird Al. I think I've been on stage with him like 11 or 12 times.
Oh my God.
So that's but that one's probably one of my best.
Are you doing the next one? I just bought tickets, Renee and I, for October 29th in Philly.
Yeah, well, see, he's not doing the Star Wars song. I don't think he's taking his whole band. So I think he's doing the song, but he's not having Star Wars characters.
Yeah, he's doing it differently, right? This is like his last concert year. I think that's what this is it. So we did the backstage stuff and everything. This is it for Al.
So we have a few of us have a plan because we know Marty, our friend Marty, he's in Weird Al's book. He does Chewbacca, and when we were at the one concert, they called Chewie in the back, and Weird Al was sitting in his dressing room tweeting with Chewbacca. But so we got to know the road manager, so we have some things in the works we might do when he's in Pennsylvania. We just have to figure out how to. I don't want to say any more, but we have some things planned for that when Weird Al's around. But I really like Weird Al and his drummer, and but we luck out. Like I'm Anthony, when we're doing a shoot, you and your boys need to just take a road trip out to Lancaster, because that last shoot that Ken was on, we had Chewbacca and C-3PO on what looked like a desert planet. It was surreal,
My wife goes to Lancaster 3 times a year. She loves it.
Really?
She spends, she goes to, if you go in my house, there's a picture of a farm that she stays at. She stays at one of those Amish farms.
Oh, okay.
And she always goes to the same she goes to the same place every year. It's like this beautiful farm. So yeah, she absolutely loves it.
I grew up, all my neighbors were Amish, and that's where I met Harrison Ford. I met him at Zimmerman's store when they were filming Witness, because Witness was filmed in the town of Intercourse, but they didn't call it Intercourse.
Yeah, I picked that up too, John. Yeah, I met Harrison Ford.
Yeah, just casually throw that in conversation. That's the first I've heard of it.
Wait a minute.
Tell you?
That is a Star Wars reference.
Yeah, no, I met him. I was probably 16 or 17, because I was and my mom at the time, I mean, she's still my mom, but at the time she still talked to me.
Star Wars reference.
She worked at the grocery store, right? I know, right? She worked at the grocery store that they filmed the one scene where he's in the phone booth, and they were filming it all day. So she got me in the back. I got to talk to him for a while, and I got his autograph on a Post-it note. It's just like this was a 1984 or so Post-it note, and I was driving home. I had a '68 Ford pickup, and the whole passenger side on this pickup was an old road sign that we had riveted down to the floor. I stuck the Post-it note on my dash. It got sucked out a hole in the floor. So there was my autograph. My autograph didn't even make it home.
Oh, no.
And you didn't stop?
I didn't realize it. I mean, picture the crappiest car you've ever ridden at. Picture the doors almost falling off. Driving.
That was my first car.
65 miles an hour. It was like you couldn't even hear the radio. It was like being in a wind tunnel. And
my first car was a 1971 Volkswagen Beetle.
Hey, don't be busting on a Beetle, man. I'm a bug guy.
Oh boy.
I was rolling the window down, hand cranking the window down, and the handle fell off the door into my hand, and I was so surprised by it that I dropped it on the floor, and it also fell out the hole in the floorboard. I went to a movie with a girl in high school once, and we were driving home from the movie, and it was raining, and we came over this hill down into a gully, and water flooded into the car and soaked from the knees down, soaked her pants completely because of the holes in the floorboard. So I know what that's like.
Well, when I started dating Missy, she needed a car, so I bought a '71 Super Beetle for $25. I spent about a month. I stripped it down, and I built her first car. So, and she's still with me, so it must have worked.
What's the old saying? Buy them a car, they'll be with you for life. Isn't that the whole thing?
I guess. Yeah, $35. It was.
Beetles are a girl's best friend.
Yeah.
I don't know. My sister hated hers.
That's magic to me. I don't know how any of that stuff works.
Well, I didn't really have a choice. It was like, oh, you want to have a car, Mike? Well, then you need and I had limited funds. Like I mowed grass. I remember walking home from mowing grass, and the guy had paid me for 6 weeks because they did a cemetery. I had like $600 cash, and there was a guy with a truck in his driveway for $500. And so I just right there didn't ask any grown-ups or anything. I'm just like, okay, I'll buy it. I bought a car. So terrible car. It was, but and it goes into Star Wars when I work on stuff like that. When I was younger, building cars, and it was usually I was working on them at 11 at night when I had to be to work at 6 in the morning. I always pretended I was Han Solo to get me through. I was just like, that's how it got me through, because I was always using crappy parts and crappy tools on a dirt floor.
At least you had a floor.
You had air. You had to build it over a canyon. Back in my day, we had to play with Battlestar Galactica figures instead. No.
Oh no! not Battlestar.
I had to
I
make
get that.
old Bob. I had to make old Bob because he didn't sell old Bob. They only sold Vincent, so I had to crush his head and take the leg off, and it was horrible.
Melt him
I-
against the oven.
I had $6 million man. I tried to make him Han Solo. You know, I tried to cram clay in his eye. You know how the $6 million man just had a big hole in his head? I tried to put clay in his eye and make him Han Solo.
Yeah, we
So
got
Ken,
Jim
you
to
like
thank for
this?
that.
Ken, you like this? The designer of the $6 million man was Tim Epler. That was his big thing.
Oh yeah.
He did that. Yeah, he did that whole line, $6 million man, and you know all that stuff. That was when Hasbro was so like in charge of. Really,
Well, that was even before Hasbro. That was Kenner.
Kenner. That
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
when TV decided like what shows existed because you wouldn't even see shows wouldn't even sign unless they had the toy rights. Somebody bought the
Yeah.
toy rights, and if they didn't buy the toy rights, they couldn't finance the show.
Hmm.
So
Well,
they
I
would do all
bought-
these silly things. Tim Appler's coming out with a book this year, I think, that talks about all that world, which is it's crazy, beautiful world that unfortunately is gone.
Well, your wife will like that. I used to get most of my Star Wars from a Amish store. They used to buy tractor trailers from J.C. Penney and Sears, and it was all the bent boxes and ripped boxes. And they had an old chicken coop converted to a service merchandise type store. That's where we used to get all our Star Wars and superhero toys in the town of Honeybrook. So,
Man, that would be like $1 million business today.
oh yeah, well, yeah. I mean, it was funny. Well, back then they didn't pack them like they did. I think we said this last week too. They just threw the parts in the box, and you just hope that like your sticker thing didn't fall out of the box. You know,
Because people
This
used
is
to play.
why I want. This is why I want time travel to happen in my lifetime, so I can go back to times like that and get those things and bring them to today.
well, like J.C. Penney's was like babysitting for us. Like my grandmother, like I grew up with my grandparents, and she would just set us in the J.C. Penney toy store, and I think that's why I have so much nostalgia for those old Star Wars toys. It wasn't that I had a lot of them, but I would stand there for hours and just look at them. Like you would just look at all these boxes, and then you'd move and look at all those boxes, and then that's all you did. And then for hours, and then they'd come pick you up. You know, as long as you weren't kidnapped, you got to go home.
There's a guy that did a TED talk the other day about he did a 30-day sabbatical on electronics, right? No phones, no computers, nothing. Just a notebook, newspapers. And he said, this is what happened to me. What was interesting, he said that his imagination started to come back. So he started like daydreaming a lot, which he didn't really do because anytime he would try to daydream with the devices, he would just get on the devices. And his imagination started to come back. Right. And that's sort of where we are today with kids, right? Like we have all these devices and stuff, but toys aren't really popular at all.
Yeah.
Except toys started to make really good toy sales went through the roof during COVID. And part of that is because the parents would limit the amount of time that the kids are on the devices because they don't literally want them there all day. Because now you're going to school on the devices and then you're
Right.
playing on the devices. So parents will take it away and they bought a lot of toys. So the question is going to be, Mattel and Hasbro put out their forward-looking statements for what they think the next couple of years are going to be. And Mattel's like, yeah, this is permanent. We're going to grow. And Hasbro's like, we think people are going to go back to their devices, So it's interesting to see how toys sort of made a comeback. And then,
See, I don't know if I would chalk it all up to parents buying toys for their kids as much. This is the skeptic in me thinks that during the pandemic, people had more time on their hands, were shopping, and so you had those third-party sellers. They were going in and snagging them all up and then selling them, to other folks. Because there was online sales also went through the roof during the pandemic. So
Barbie
Well,
had its best year in like 40 years. Barbie had some crazy surprises, right? Like Barbie did so well last year or during the COVID era.
I think so. In the 501st Legion, when I first started in 07, the only thing we did charity wise was we would go to events and we would collect toys. That's all we did, and we would never collect money, never handle money, and we would take toys to hospital visits. Well, what I see at least in our group, they're still collecting toys, but you take kids, and the kids are grateful. They're very wonderful kids that they see in hospital, but those kids don't play with toys anymore, like action figures. It's just a commentary because some of us members have said, hey, maybe we should like collect coats for people that need coats or something, and get away from the action figures, because the action figures, and I noticed it when the Clone Wars action figures came out too, they weren't really made to be played with. They were very nice, but maybe that'll change. I mean, I know the phones and the electronic stuff is tough as a teacher, because we're always fighting that battle, and depending on what home a student comes from, you can call a parent and say, hey, your kid's always on the phone, and the parent will take care of it. And certain parents, they're texting their kids while I'm trying to teach them something. So, you're kind of, the phone, it's almost like we have to get a grip on where phones fall in our society. I know for myself, most days when I go to work, just to be an example for my students, I turn my phone off and put it in my desk drawer, and I'll check it at lunch. My students are like, what if there's an emergency? And I'm like, look, I lived the first 40 some years of my life with having to go to a payphone if you had an emergency, and I did okay. So if there's an emergency, they can call the office and I'll be fine. But it's tough. It's tough for us as adults. I mean, it is just one of those. And the reason I don't carry my phone at school is because just out of habit, a lot of times I just pull it out and look at it. Just walking down the hall, and so I just try to limit that, and because I'd love to see toys make a comeback.
Well, Arc 77 says it still loves playing with toys.
Yeah,
plays with the toys over electronics.
Well, and you know what? I think like the Black Series helmets, and I think like maybe we're just looking at toys differently. Maybe due to the advent of 3D printing, you have John like building costumes. Like he's way younger than us. We have us build. Like maybe that's the new toy. Like maybe what like action figures had their run, and maybe the new toys are like the Black Series helmets. And like if you go into a GameStop, if you still have run around you, they're making like Thor's axe and Captain America's shield. Like maybe that's the toys of this generation.
That's a really good point, because I had a conversation earlier today with somebody at lunch, and they were saying that things that we think we're used to, some of them are relatively new. Even the idea of school is not something that's been around longer than 100 years for high schools, right?
Right.
And
right.
I never really thought that maybe the action figure era was just a phase. Just like we went through the tin car phase, the tin toys phase, and just like we went through, to some extent the board game phase. And yeah, I guess it could be a phase, couldn't it?
Because if you look at look at the price of the Millennium Falcon back, if you do whatever chart to calculate what the Millennium Falcon would cost in today's dollars, and then take something, just go to because a GameStop is probably our last vestige of a toy store right now. For what actual kids, I see more.
Yeah, and Targets too. Targets are pretty good.
Yeah, but I see more kids, like unsupervised kids, in a GameStop than I see in the toy aisle of Target. Usually in Target, I see people like in their 20s, but I'm saying like kids that are like going.
You hear that, Nancy?
Yeah, I know.
But I'm saying I wonder what comparison, like what money wise, because when you do go to cons and stuff, the cosplay stuff is like really blowing up. Like Steel City Con is still one of my favorites, and John will attest to this. Like John was a rock star as Din Djarin. Like we had, it was like we just had people crowding around getting pictures. It was Din Djarin, 000, Chewbacca, and Boba Fett. And we
Boba Fett.
Yeah, but if they stopped walking, we had to take 15 pictures to just take, and we weren't with a group. We were just us nerds walking around.
I think we have to come up with a rule that it's Boba Fett. Because, I mean, isn't that how he says it? So shouldn't we say it the way he says it?
So one word smooshed together?
Yeah, he kind of says it's one word, doesn't it? I'm Boba Fett.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and Mike, kind of going back to your point, though, with the 3D printing, I mean, even cosplay and costume pieces are a big part of, I think you're right. That's becoming more so what the toys might be for, the teenagers and then people of my age. I don't think, you're going to get a lot of 8, 9, 10-year-olds who are going to be 3D printing costume parts. But even at that, like, yeah, I've got costume pieces that I 3D print, but like I just bought a 3 3/4 scale Mandalorian's Naboo Starfighter. that I'm going to start printing here soon.
And a 3D printer?
Mhm.
My son got one for Christmas, and we have no idea how to use it. I bought it
Which
for
one'd
him.
you get? Which one'd you get?
Toy box, I think it's called.
What size? What you know? What print bed?
No, I have no idea. It's
Oh,
like
my
this
Talking
big.
to two 3D printing nerds over here. They
My
know
only-
that.
my
This
only-
big, I don't know, whatever the size this is.
Yeah, my only advice on any 3D printer, people, is just be patient. Once you get yours dialed in, it just expect a lot of failures, and once you get it going, you can print all kinds of stuff.
Yeah,
And
well,
the
I think
droid-
he would love to have that.
Droid Division?
The file for the Naboo fighter.
Where'd you get that, John?
Galactic Armory,
Yeah.
which I am now an affiliate. So if you use code Scalise at checkout, you get 10% off.
Oh man, I got to
Okay.
remember it. Because no, but John hooked
That
me
was
up with
pronounced
Galactic-
so well. You sound like a real ad person.
No, you should put an ad on TikTok. You should have that rolling around there, John.
I actually, now that because I didn't realize that I had gotten accepted into the affiliate program
Yeah.
for his website, but like I bought the files for the fighter. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna try that code, and it worked. So I stumbled across the fact that I got accepted.
Because I've been printing for like 4, maybe 5 years, and the quality of prints coming out, you kind of it's one of the few things you get what you pay for right now when it comes to and the Galactic Armory stuff. John got me hooked on those. Those guys are good. Droid Division is another one. Like you could print a whole pit droid. Droid Division stuff is nice. And then there's a bunch out there, but you just have to get in with a group of people that print, whatever, and help out. You buy. I don't know where you're getting your filament from, John.
I'm still churning through my Inland brand filament,
Okay,
so it's a Micro Center.
GS 3D, is that what the stuff? I don't have a box in here right now, but you buy it. If you buy it by a box, 10 boxes, 10 rolls, you get it for $10 or $9.50 a box, where it used to be almost $40 a roll when I first started. So the prices come way down.
Yeah, I think it was about $30 for a 1 kilogram roll when I started.
Yeah.
Now it's getting down into the just for like mainline, like you could buy it on Amazon. It's like $16-17.
Yeah, I paid, like I said, I paid $9.50, and that's like wood filament still cost me like $30, and silk filament that runs in the $20s, I think.
See, I don't touch silk filament anymore. I had one go at that, and the prints always turned out terrible.
Yeah, I only use. I have to make a set of volleyball or dodgeball medals for some of my students just because they were working hard, and I said I'll make them. So I'm going to get some of the silk. It works through my Flash Forge. It's not the best through my CR10. That's super nerdy talk, but yeah, no, I think
That was pretty nerdy.
3D printing. Like my students, I'm seeing more of my students get into it. Like 2 years ago, when people tried to get into it, they thought, "Hey, look, I bought a printer. I plug it in, and it should be printing." And that's not the case. But they are getting a lot easier to work on and maintain and stuff like that. I mean, it's still not like it's not the end all be all. Like I know there's some people that are anti 3D printing. They're like, oh, it's still a lot of work to do a helmet. Like you print all you did was you cut out having like Zoe's Sabine helmets cost me a lot of money to get them resin cast. The 3D printing cuts that cost out.
Yeah, I think overall this helmet, this probably cost me probably $15-20 in total materials.
Yeah.
But yeah,
and depending on how you set it, you can I just did a Mandalorian helmet for animated Mandalorian, and it took a spool and a half. So that's like depending on the spools, that's under $20 for a helmet.
You got to print upside down, man. I'm telling you, I will never print the helmet right side up again.
I just take all the things out. I just hate printing them up. I just hate all those stupid. I don't know. My finishing is not as good as yours, but
I don't know.
I got a Sabine there though. Like this Sabine, that armor. I still go with the 3mm PVC because that armor is like $7 to build a Sabine. So, and then we'll get. But so we were talking a little bit about what we're looking forward to. So they announced when Kenobi's coming out. So I can't rent a movie theater to see the Kenobi because I'll be leaving for Celebration.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, but
that
who
does
says you
fall
have to
there.
do it for the first episode?
Well, I know.
Why couldn't you do it for the finale?
I can do it anytime because that movie theater we went to, and if you guys have one near you, you have to do it. They literally hand you an Apple TV remote. You put in your account. And you can watch
cool.
whatever you. So when Book of Boba Fett came out, we watched the cartoon from the holiday special. We watched the Book of Boba Fett episode 1, and then Empire Strikes Back. We fit that in our 3-hour window, and we all got popcorn and we all got soda, and it cost us $10 a piece or something like that.
I mean, it would be good to have the whole thing, like at the end of it, like Ken said, just you're basically there for 6 hours. They probably will kick you out, but
well, you get 3 hours, so you just do three. You can do 2 3-hour spots because it's.
How much did it cost you?
If you do it on a weekday, it's $200, and you can have up
nothing.
to 30 people. Now, once COVID restrictions, you can probably have as many as you want. And then if you do it on a weekend, which when I did it was on a weekend because it was a Christmas holiday, it was $300. But even with the 200, you get 30 people, drinks and popcorn for the people. The concession stands open if they want more, and it was really neat. And you can plug in your video game console, whatever you want. I don't know if playing a video game on a movie theater screen would be worth $200, but
It all sounds very interesting.
My biggest concern with the video game is I wonder the latency, how that
well,
would
they have
work out.
I think you direct plug it in. Like I think you direct because it's like a big rat. This is a pretty new theater. Like when Iron Man came out, the first Iron Man is when they built this theater. And this guy made tons of money from Iron Man, and then when Force Awakens came out, he was packed for months. Like he made a lot of money from that too.
Yeah, Mike, you got to remember, I know my way around a projection room.
Yeah,
or
well,
a projection booth.
That's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, so because I was thinking of renting it on May the 4th, and just watch whatever's out.
Bad Batch.
Yeah, just
What happened to the Bad Batch announcement that was supposed to come out today? What happened? I
think
feel
that was
so
just-
bad.
I think, like you said earlier, about the sometimes the things that get hinted or leaked aren't as reliable as we wish they would be.
It's
Yeah.
sad.
I just wish they would give us a rough schedule. I just wish they would say, look, give me a window of like X amount of months or something. I need to plan mentally for what's coming up.
I mean, look at Marvel. It's the same parent company, and we've got dates for movies that are coming out 4 or 5 years from now.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, it
see,
is weird.
Marvel's I think the difference between Marvel and Star Wars, and it's the difference between a lot of things. I think it all depends on which medium it started in. So, like Star Wars started with movies, so I think it gets treated as a different animal than Marvel that started in comic books. And I just think it's just however they were born, that birth order changes how things are run. Because I was a big Marvel guy when I used to own a comic book store and all that stuff, and Marvel was run terribly back in the 90s. Like right around like when Image came out and stuff, Marvel like almost went out of business. They bought into a whole nother distributor. They were selling. You could have bought the rights to any of their characters for probably pennies. They would sell anyone the rights. If you had a camcorder, they would give you like Thor or something.
Yeah, $2 and half a sandwich, and
Yeah,
now you own Iron Man.
No, I remember in 93 or 94, I got some affiliate thing because I still had my store, and they wanted me to pay, and they would send me costumes, and I could go and have like a party business and be like Spider-Man at someone's party or something like that, or something. It was so weird, the stuff they were doing.
And you did this or did not do this?
No, I didn't. I didn't have any. I was a struggling. I opened a comic book store right before the internet came out. It was probably, if there was like a span of time not to open a comic book store, I opened it right then.
See, I'm expecting like a secret passageway in your house, and you have all of those Marvel costumes lined up. You're like, today I'm gonna be Ant-Man.
You know, I wish that's I rarely wish for things like I did things or didn't things. I try to like live my life like, look, everything I've done has led me to this point. But when I got rid of my comic book store, I owned my personal collection was every Spider-Man except for the first 9 and every appearance of Spider-Man in every comic book and every book, and I got rid of it all for pennies because my business went under and I just had to, get myself because I was in a strip mall and the grocery store that was the anchor of the store went out of business, like without telling us. They're like, "Oh, guess what? We're closing up in 2 weeks." So,
so you want to use my time machine, is what you're telling us? That's what it comes
I
down
just
to.
do it. I'd probably just send my hand back and slap myself upside the head and just say, "Go back to school and don't wait till you're 30." So,
Actually, if you went back and got those comics and moved them into the future, you'd make a lot of money.
they were worth a lot of money then. The only one I have left is the one I proposed to my wife with. I proposed to her with Amazing Spider-Man 289. That's where Peter Parker proposed to Mary Jane. So
Every time you say something, like all these surprises come out, I think someone needs to make a video about you.
No, you haven't even heard my family tree. my grandfather, the Italian side of my family, my grandfather's from Pittsburgh, and my real dad's side of the family, my real dad, I have a sister that's a little older than me. He got his drill instructor's wife pregnant while he was in boot camp. And so he got sent to Vietnam in a place he probably shouldn't have come back. And then I have two younger brothers that are a month apart because my dad got 2 best friends pregnant. Like my dad got every woman he talked to for more than 5 minutes, he got pregnant.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm just laughing at the circumstances of
my
sharing.
dad, he was a terrible person. I mean, I didn't meet him till I was way older, but he wasn't a very good person. But he, I have siblings.
Apparently, he was pretty charismatic, though.
Oh yeah, I mean, but we always laughed because he was in Vietnam for 14 months. We said there's a half Hungarian, half Vietnamese village somewhere because he was in Vietnam for 14 months. So
that's a lot of time.
But I was raised by my grandparents and they did a good job. And that's Star Wars was one of those things that when I saw Luke Skywalker not living with his parents, I think that's what hooked me. Because he didn't live with his parents and it wasn't a big deal in the story. Like it wasn't like the after school special where little Billy was sad because he didn't have a dad or a mom. It was just like, okay, this is Luke Skywalker.
Cool.
So.
And I lived with my grandparents from the time I was 16 on, and I had the same kind of Luke moment where I don't want to live here. I got to go somewhere else. I got to go do something beyond this town, beyond this. I grew up in small town upstate New York, and it was got to do something else. Got to get off of this rock.
Well, until I moved out here in Quarryville, which is about 16 miles from where I grew up, I lived with my grandparents. Then my mom and stepdad kidnapped me when I was in 5th grade. They lived a mile away. Then when I got married, I rented a house that was halfway between my grandparents and my parents' house. And then I bought my grandparents' house and lived there. So up until I moved here, I lived within a mile of the same spot my entire life. So I didn't get out.
Yeah. So who's gonna fund the Mike Hinton biopic? I think that's the story we need to tell.
Well, instead of the funding, who's gonna play the roles? That's an even more a more fun conversation.
I think John can play 22-year-old Mike. I didn't have as good a hair as him, but
It does sound like this is a story that needs to be told.
I have a transcript of my grandfather who raised me. His dad killed a police officer during one of the riots because he was from Italy. He was from Sicily, and I have the court transcripts because then he was later beat to death in prison by the guards. But the court no, I'm sorry, but the court it shows how weird things were back. Like those court transcripts would almost be considered racist the way they were. I don't know if you call it racist, but the way they were talking about my great grandfather, which he killed a man. He should have went to trial and stuff. But it's just weird how far we've come. And I think part of this, it always comes back to Star Wars. I think part of George Lucas, what I love about George Lucas, I feel like I was raised, even though I'm a lot younger, not a lot younger, but younger than George Lucas, I was raised by people that came right out of World War II. So I was raised in that 40s and 50s mentality. You know, like we had records and a black and white TV. So I don't know. My students always get a kick out of my stories too.
Yeah,
Well,
they're
if you
pretty good.
deliver them like that, I can see why.
My principal. So have you ever heard of the painter Andrew Wyeth?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you remember when those paintings were stolen in the 80s? They were stolen in the 80s.
Are you connected
outside
to
of
this
Philly.
somehow?
That was my uncle. My uncle stole them.
Of course he did.
No, and
Why wouldn't he?
The cool part.
Why
about
wouldn't
that was,
my kitten be involved with in an art theft?
The cool part about that story is when he got thrown in jail, like I was like in 8th grade, like they were fixing the telephone pole outside of my mom and dad's house for years because it was the FBI tapping our phone because it was my mom's sister and her husband. They were tapping the phone and all this. But when he went to jail, I got all his clothes. So I always had terrible clothing. Like we went to the farmer's market and you got the sneaker out of the left-hand barrel and the sneaker out of the right foot barrel, and that's, you know, your sneakers. And so for the first time in my life, I had like Arrow shirts and all this because all his clothes were really nice. I wore those things till they fell apart.
Can we go back to the Andrew Wyeth theft?
Yeah.
What?
So my uncle was a criminal, and they would steal stuff. So he masterminded his theft, and they stole. He hired a guy to steal Andrew Wyeth's painting.
Steal it. What was it called? The American. Well, I don't forget what it was called. The girl that's on the lawn.
Yeah, well, I don't know which picture it was, honestly. We used to have the ladder. I don't know whatever happened to the ladder because the guy he hired stole it. And then the funny part is, part of the money when they were paying for it, the one fence used a 56 Chevy as part of the payment. That 56 Chevy was owned by my wife, her grandfather. I never knew my wife then. They lived in a whole nother, but that was her grandfather's car that he had sold him legally. He wasn't involved in the crime. But the fence and bookie that then turned on my uncle, his stepson married my wife's sister.
His stepson married my wife's sister.
Is Kevin Bacon somehow involved in this? Like I'm
Yeah.
a 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon here. Like where does Kevin Bacon fit into all this?
I don't know.
Because we've already got
Star
Harrison Ford
Wars
mixed in.
or-
We've
Star
got-
Wars podcasts are the best thing you have going for you. Actually, I think.
Well, see, you know, it's again, it's just all that stuff just makes you like it just makes me know what I want to make sure.
Makes
that
you
my
paranoid.
my wife used to get paranoid because the Johnston gang, which is out of Philly, when the one Johnston gang guy was out of jail, I used to joke around to my wife that they were going to come to our house because I bought my grandfather's house looking for my uncle, which he wouldn't, you know, but
As far as you know.
But there was and he used to smoke a cigar, the one guy from the Johnston gang. Well, there's a piece of copper pipe laying in the yard, and it looked like a cigar, so I took a picture of it just to mess with her and say, look what I found outside the thing. She didn't think it was as funny as I did. But
No, I don't think she would, considering that she probably knows a whole bunch of other stories that we don't know yet.
no, my wife's she came from pretty, like, just normal. But
Well, I'm
besides
talking about you.
I didn't do anything else. It's just a lot of stuff happened around me.
Well, that's what a criminal would want us to think.
Yeah.
Yeah, you tell all of these stories because you don't want us to know the real story.
Yeah, he's throwing us off.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I look at my kingdom of Star Wars junk.
Yeah, how much of that is stolen, by the way?
Luckily none. No, this room doesn't. I don't think this room has any pops in it.
You have stuff in that room that's stolen. Don't lie. We're
No.
looking right at it. The Star Wars Celebration.
Oh
poster.
yeah, I do have the celebration.
Liar.
The
I guess it
schedule
runs
for
in the
podcast.
family, Mike.
When I walked in the hotel with that like 7 foot tall sign, Missy was like, "What are you doing with that?" I
So
said,
you
"I
have that-
security guard."
You have that Cad Bane. I don't know if that's Cad Bane, but you have a character that looks like Cad
Yeah,
Bane.
yeah, that's a mask. So
How happy were you with the TV version?
I liked it. I liked I kind of like the cartoon version, but I always in the clone as a costume person, because the clones are so the way that they're drawn. When you try to make their costumes, everyone I know, not knocking anyone's costumes, but if you're not careful, the Cad Bane costumes look like a bobblehead because you got to get the proportions right with that big hat. Where the one they showed, it would make an easier costume. Like anymore, everything I look at, well, how can I make that? How can I make that? You know. But yeah, I like the new Cad Bane, and I like that he had the metal plate on his head to reference when Boba Fett shot him in the head and stuff. I wish they would have said more about that.
Because your color is more, the color of your character is closer to the TV one than the cartoon.
Yeah, well, this is the character from the Cantina.
Yeah.
These are the two Cantina ones right here. Some lady, her husband died, and she had like an entire room of nothing but masks.
And your family had nothing to do with that, right?
No, nothing to do. No, and somehow she contacted me. She thought I was some kind of store of maps or masks, and I said, "Look, lady, I just, you know," and I think I don't know what her story was, but I think she thought everything was worth way more money than it was, and but I wound up picking up those two masks from her, but it should not for what she was asking. I said, "Look, I can give you this for all of them," because she thought like each one of those masks were like thousands of dollars. I'm like, no, they're not thousands of dollars. So
they look pretty cool.
It is nice. The blue one has never been cut, so you can't really put it on. It has the slit mark in it. So I have too fat a head for anything. But that one, Safi can wear that one, but you can't see out the eyes. They're painted.
Are those Don Post masks or no?
No, they're custom. They're like custom built and airbrushed. I forget who that mask in the 90s. Someone, when the internet first came out, there was someone selling those masks that they cast right off the original until Lucasfilm closed them down for a while. That one looks like one of those because of the slit up the back. It looks like someone found an original, put it together, and made a cast and airbrushed it.
Yeah, from back here, it looks great.
Yeah, it's here. Let me see if I can.
Oh, here we go.
And here are the fingerprints.
It's like a live unveiling. Look at that.
And then you can see. Sorry, I can't hear you guys, but you can't.
This is where we tell all the stories about Mike because he can't hear us.
Right up there, that has to be cut. But you can't. The eyes are. It's all solid. It's all.
It looks
Anyway,
a little
like
lizardy when you see him on the side. It looks a little lizardy.
Yeah. But it's pretty cool. I mean, I like the detail. I like the airbrushing and stuff. So.
And you cannot do magic mushrooms in that room.
Well,
that would be quite an experience.
Well, this setup was done pre-COVID, so half of my equipment I don't need anymore just because of how technology has changed since COVID. You know, like I said to these guys, I just remember the early days of Zoe's podcast. We would have an open mic playing into a computer that was recording it on GarageBand, and it was because of what's the phone service one? Skype. Skype was so unreliable back then. Like it would just drop off and stuff. And then like when it used to be, if you had a Lucasfilm person on your show, you had to have Skype and you had to give them a number. Like you couldn't just, back in like her when she did I think it was the Lego creators for the Lego cartoon or something like that. We had to send Lucasfilm a phone number and they had to call or something. It's weird. It's weird how they protect.
So you can't get their info, I guess.
I don't know. But then the newest one, I think the last Lucasfilm one she had was Dave Filoni's wife, and she just did it via whatever Zoom. So yeah.
I remember when Ken and I started our podcast. I mean, you guys helped us out, but we had like the first 5 podcasts were like the worst audio you would ever. I remember Ken, we had like Nietzsche's dog in half the episodes, and it was just, the audio, my mic would not work at all, or in the sound levels were like all over the place. And then when we finally got Zoom, we're like, well, this is much easier. We don't have to do all these crazy things. Just record on Zoom.
And it's funny because that wasn't really that long ago. We're talking 2020.
I do love your video games back there, though, too.
But these guys?
Yeah. I had a Sinistar. Remember Sinistar?
Oh yeah, that's a good one. That
So-
first talking game.
Before I moved out here, I had a Sinistar, and the power supply went, and I give it to a guy. A guy came to my house, and it was
Are you
sitting in
crazy?
I was. It was at the point we were moving, and I had both my kids were. I think Safi was 3 and Zoe was 5, and it was just like, okay, I got to load this truck, and I had stuff sitting out, and the Sinistar was sitting in my garage. And this guy came up. So what are you doing with that Sinistar game? I said, you want it? He's like, yeah. I said, take it right now before I change my mind. And I could kick myself, man, because I love that game.
Want to borrow
That's
my
a
time
great game.
machine?
Oh, the time machine came up.
Well,
Well,
now they make those big games. You see it at where they'll make like your personalized console.
Yeah,
Ever seen
yeah.
that
A friend of
company?
mine has one of those, and he has like 2,000 games in it,
Yeah,
and they're really good. Like he's got the trackball, he's got the 6 buttons on each side, he's got all these different kind of controllers, and it's a really sweet machine. I like the machines as individual machines, but
yeah.
you can go either way if you don't have all the room. I want to get the. I'm really looking forward to getting a Donkey Kong machine, and I want a red one, which is it's one of the first 2,000.
We have
That's
a couple places around here
Like
that
Grail.
sell. We have a couple places around here that sell the old machines. There's one in Coatesville that sells them, and there's one out in Harrisburg. And they run around. They run between 11 and 1,500, depending on. And then like some of the bigger ones are. But I
Well,
don't
now you know what to tell your wife to go to Lancaster to get for you, Anthony.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's exactly what she wants to do.
Yeah, don't bring back any of
Strap it on
the.
top of the roof.
Yeah, don't bring back any of the Amish pies or anything like that, or bring
Well,
back
no,
the Donkey
so-
Kong.
There's a new restaurant in Lancaster, right in the city, called Decades, and they took an old gymnasium of an old armory, and they put half of it is a bowling alley, and then half of it's a restaurant and bar, and it's all spread out, and it's all full of old video games. And so when you're waiting for your food, you can buy a thing of tokens, and you can go play like Pac-Man and Off Road, and they have the old asteroids with the buttons instead of the stuff like that. But that's
I'm on the website right now.
Decades.
Oh wow, that's
Yeah.
pretty.
It is and what's nice is it's the two things I like about Decades is
Oh,
however
wow.
they do their sound management, you can still talk to the people at your table. Like you go to a lot of these places and you can't hear anything. They have that, and it's all spread out. Like even when it was open during COVID, you didn't feel like you had people like crowding you and stuff.
That's
Oh,
pretty
this
cool.
is gorgeous. Yeah,
See, now
this
you
is
want to come to
really
Lancaster,
big.
right?
No. You guys see it?
Oh, wait, let me turn it on. Let me see. See if I can. There it is, right there. Yep.
Oh wow.
I'm sharing your screen right now.
Look at that.
Yeah, that's the bowling alley. And the food's good. The food's really good. I mean, I'm vegan, so I'm limited, but their vegan food's really good too.
This is really good. All right.
And that's
Why
like right
am
in the,
I'm like talking twice here.
Well, now we know that on Tatooine that they actually have an arcade.
yeah. Not anymore. Well, did they?
They
No,
just destroyed
yeah, I'd like
Tosche
to see
Station.
that arcade game too. Like, what is that game? It's like a weird.
Oh,
series.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like a 26
Yeah, I don't
game.
think they destroyed the game. They just beat up all the bike riders.
Yeah. Well, this hollow chess table, when it's done, I have all the electronics. When I wire it up, you can play hollow chess at my house now.
Do you ever just relax and do nothing for like a weekend?
No. That's my wife.
Understood.
She does it. This is probably the most I've sat down at home since last Wednesday. So, so she's happy. I'm just resting. My dog, my one bulldog, he barks at me if I'm sitting down because he's not used to it. Like if I sit down to watch a TV show, he starts barking. So, but I think when the pandemic,
I have to run. I have an interview to give
Yeah.
in the morning. I have to be. I have quite a day. But this is an exciting. Just hearing my stories alone is worth it.
I want more Star Wars stories though. That's what I want. I wish I could. Can I trade them in? Can I sell those to like Kramer and buy Star Wars stories?
Oh, we could just change the names.
Yeah, to protect the innocent.
You could turn your family, turn them into Star Wars stories. Just give them Star Wars themed and say,
Yeah.
Yeah, remember
Yeah,
the
yeah.
time that Santo stole that that painting from Jabba Hutt's palace.
Yeah, there we go. I could just write the next season of Boba Fett.
So, I mean, Kathleen Kennedy, you're listening to our show. I mean, we've already
Yeah,
talked
she's one
about
of
doing
the- she's the
a
one
fan
you are.
appreciation day. Now we gotta, get Mike connected. You know Matt Martin. He's part of the story group.
Yeah, good old Matt.
Why aren't you planting the seeds with Matt Martin? He's
I
our
don't
buddy.
know. I
The
did
stories
send
write themselves.
him Yeah. All right. Well,
I mean, you could be in one of those anthology books, Tales from the
Yeah.
Cantina or whatever.
my dream part I just want to be a rundown old TIE pilot that says old scruffy things like to the youngins. That would be my dream character.
No, you're like that that character that built the fighter in the last episode. Pelly Moss, is that her name? That's you.
Oh yeah.
Now
No,
you be the person. You ever see like in the movies like the Kingsman people that put on the outfits when they're the spy?
Oh yeah.
That's you. Okay. I gotta go here and pretend to be this. I got the helmet for you. It's like you from James Bond.
Explosive cufflinks and canes that are really swords hidden inside. And
Well, I'll stick with just being a sand trooper, and John is he'll be a fellow stormtrooper soon. And then we just get Anthony in a costume. You could do the guy that spins. You could have the eyepiece and the suit.
That's a good trick.
yeah, he was a dapper character.
I like spinning.
Spinning's a good trick.
It is.
Our next
Yeah, that's
episode,
right.
you can only reply with quotes from Star Wars.
See?
I have a bad feeling about this.
There we go.
All right. Well,
I thought they
I
smelled
will,
bad on
I
the
will let
outside.
you guys go. I'm looking forward to doing this again. It's really cool.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah.
Good to
Hey,
see you,
thanks for
Anthony.
popping on.
Yeah, Anthony, it was a pleasure meeting you.
Nice to meet you, John.
And listen to Anthony at what's your podcast name?
Ken, what is our podcast?
The Forces Behind Star Wars.
The Forces Behind Star Wars. It's very good.
Forces Behind Star Wars. It's on all major podcast thingies.
And YouTube.
And
All right.
no, we're not on YouTube.
Aren't you on YouTube? Where do you put
No,
your
Not
we
yet.
are.
Facebook.
Oh, Facebook videos. Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
We're not
Yeah,
fancy enough to be on YouTube yet.
The Facebook is actually is acceptable for us. The episode that we had for the toys, I think 3,500 people watched that one,
Nice.
which for us it's a lot.
Well, that's a lot for us.
Well,
we
making
get-
Star Wars, he got so many views, but that was a pretty good one. And then the last one
Yeah.
we did in the Book of Boba Fett was kind of like came out of nowhere because we were like, let's do an episode next week. We're like, okay.
Cool.
But our next one, Ken, is based on Attack of the Clones.
Yes, the 20 things that we love about Attack of the Clones
Nice.
in celebration of its 20th anniversary
Oh,
and
nice.
our 20th episode. It'll be our 20th episode that we've created, so I'm pretty excited about that.
And we'll
We're
The
almost
sound-
legal to drink.
all live by that,
Yeah.
which is a good thing for us. All right, guys, I'll let you go.
All right. See you later.
See you later, Anthony.
There. So now we know how to do guests.
That's pretty
Perfect.
cool.
Now we just
Yeah,
need more guests.
Can you guys see the like green room bar on the side? Like is it like I have a bar? I guess it's for the guests.
Yeah, I don't have that on mine.
See, like if I click on you, I can turn you off, see, and then you disappear, and I turn you back on.
Yeah, I don't have that kind of magic.
Oh,
Yeah, I
okay.
think we can only see ourselves on the left hand side.
Okay, but do you have a little blue switch on next to yourself on the side or no? Okay.
No,
Yeah. So I don't know. I
because you're
just
the host with the most.
Yeah, I just saw when he was on, and so I just posted up. He was watching a movie. I said, "Look, when you get free, jump on, and try to get some more people. Just make it like Wednesday night Star Wars or something. I don't know."
So it's funny that you say that, because while you make a lot of stuff, I brainstorm a lot of stuff. So I've 1.5 million ideas, and one of them is, and the name of it is actually Rambling Star Wars Fans.
There you go. See?
Like what we've done for the last 6 hours, if you count the 3 hours
Yeah.
from the last episode, and rolling up on 3 hours. It's literally just rambling of Star Wars fans, where we start here in this edge of the galaxy and we go over here, and the next thing you know, we're listening about, world famous art heists, that our relatives pulled off successfully.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is kind of nice because you don't get to do that as much. Like even my job, sometimes my job is the loneliest job ever because I'm teaching, and then when the kids leave, I got to do my stuff, and then by the time the day's over, I haven't really had any contact other than the actual teaching, and so you can't have those discussions, Star Wars wise,
I've managed to, in my short period of time at work, fit Star Wars into my professional role.
Nice.
And so every month I'm expected to host an update meeting, a data update meeting. And since my very first formal meeting, I've hidden a Star Wars something in my slide deck.
Nice.
And at the end of every meeting, I have a slide. Did you find it? It's like, where's Waldo? And part of it is to encourage the participants to pay attention to what I'm actually showing them.
Yeah.
So I've hidden Stormtrooper, I've hidden BB-8. Last month I hid Boba Fett. So I've managed to sneak Star Wars into my professional life, even so much so that every once in a while when I go down to the cafeteria to get lunch, when I decide to buy lunch at work, one of the folks are like, hey, look, it's a Star Wars guy.
Yeah.
I don't even know if they all know my real name, but some of them refer to me as, hey, it's a Star Wars guy.
That's a good name to have.
Yeah,
well,
I definitely won't turn it down. That's for sure.
I've had that discussion with my students because I have a lot of quotes and stuff with Star Wars and stuff. And I've had the discussion with them. I said, there's nothing wrong with you having real life heroes and stuff like that. But I also said, there's also something to be said with fictional heroes let you test those boundaries of your emotions and feelings without really having to worry about, like the real ramifications of it. You know what I'm saying? Like you can be a real, I'm a big George Lucas fan and I love George Lucas, but when he passes away, that will be real emotions that, I'll feel for someone that was a real living thing. But I think the fictional characters let us test those emotions for when something, close to home hits. And I was trying to explain that to students because, I want them to understand it's okay to, care about things that don't necessarily seem important to some people, if that makes any sense.
Well, I hope one of those lessons is also to respect, like you have talked about, we all have different fandoms, or there's the potential for other fandoms. Just because my fandom is not your fandom and your fandom is not the other person's fandom, it doesn't make one better than the other. They're just different. And the excitement, the passion, the interest for that person is important just as much as yours is important to you. So allow both of those things to exist at the same time without necessarily needing it to be a competition of who's right or wrong or who's better or worse.
Right. Well, and I think we touched on it last time, but like all these people from Lord of the Rings fandom are starting to get up in arms about, they just sound like some of the, and I still wonder, all these people that get up in arms about whatever fandom, if they're a true fan of that genre, if every little bump gets you upset, like you were saying earlier, if you're just reading one chapter of a book and you get upset about it, you got to rethink what your definition of a fan is.
One thing I have thought about, because you were talking about fan and earlier, and fan being, connected to fanatic. I also like to think that fan isn't really too much far off from fun.
True.
It's one letter different, and if we can be a fan of something, we should also look to have fun with it. Because if it's not fun, why do it?
Right.
And why should my fandom decrease somebody else's fun?
Right. Well, there is so many things in life you can't pick. Like you can't pick your family. You at a certain point in life, you almost can't pick your job. You're kind of, there's just certain things you can't pick, and it's like you can pick your fandom. If I just decided tomorrow that Star Wars does not make me happy, all of this would be gone. You know, it would. I mean, it's not going to happen, but why would you subject yourself to that?
Yeah, life is too long and too short to be
Yep.
miserable.
Yeah, and I think that's for someone outside of the fandom, I feel like that's very hard to explain to someone. Like, for instance, I work with car people, so they're not into the nerd culture like we are, and trying to explain to them like Star Wars is a huge part of my life. It is literally tattooed on my body, and it's hard for them to grasp that something that isn't real or isn't something that you can go outside and see can be a huge life defining thing.
Yep.
I feel like it's impossible for them to grasp that.
Well, we get in our bubbles. So we get in our bubbles, and so as a Star Wars fan, we think more people understand Star Wars than we really do. Because right before I went back to college, I used to run a paintball field, and paintball, I was all in paintball all the time, similar to what I am in Star Wars. And you realize it's such a niche market, but you forget that not everyone knows about it. And I think Star Wars fans are the same way. Car fans are the same way. Like, if you talk to the right car person, they're like, look, I just got this tachometer to put on my GTO, and I spent $4,000 on the hood and blah, blah. And we're like, what? You know, or even someone who restores old cars. You're like, well, look, you have a car with no airbags, no safety, and you want to drive that around. To a person outside of that, I don't know if you call car, I guess you could call cars a fandom. Outside of that fandom, you kind of, you almost have to, it's that empathy of like knowing how people feel about things. And it comes with podcasters. The biggest thing I see with podcasters and influencers or whatever you're calling it, there's a lot of those people that think people are competition. Like, you'll talk to a podcaster and they act like, well, you're my competition. I can't be that nice to you. And a podcaster's competition is not another podcaster. A podcaster's competition is something else someone's doing rather than listening to a podcast. Like, if you fit that niche market for somebody, the same people that you think are your competition are just going to be what someone listens to on a Tuesday. You know, like, because I always look forward to Mondays because it's always that I get a nice full, Star Wars podcast. Or when Zoe, like I made the habit of, it doesn't always work, but most of the time I try not to listen to her podcast when I edit it. I put the bumpers on, throw it on, because I love listening to it on the way to work,
Well, one thing I wish would happen more often, and I know we're talking about podcasting and fandom, I'd even extend this into, politics, religion, whatever. I wish folks would exhibit curiosity. So, John, you mentioned that you work with people. So what is it about looking at cars, building cars, driving cars that you find so enjoyable? What is it that gets you excited about it? What do you think is fun? Tell me that, because I'm curious. I want to know. And then on the flip side, so give me a moment to share with you why or what it is that I like so much about this fantasy movie. And with that curiosity, you may find that there are a lot more similarities than they initially thought. So, for instance, just off the top of my head, folks who love tinkering with cars love tinkering with things. They like building it. Well, someone who likes making a costume likes building things. Someone who works on a car or works on a costume likes the sense of, I had a problem. I had to figure out how to be creative to get this costume to look the way I wanted it to, or for this car to work the way I wanted it to. So there are similarities between it if we just spent the time and the curiosity to look at it beyond just the surface of Cars movies, Cars Star Wars, or whatever it happens to be. And with that curiosity, there's so much more of a chance for connection, for understanding, instead of battling and conflict.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Well, John, you should just get them into the Road Squadron. Have you seen the Road Squadron?
Oh yeah.
I
those
decals on that Camaro. No, because I tell you what, the Road Squadron, which is pretty neat, because it's such a small group, it's like such a niche group. Last Celebration, they all got into Celebration free and got to park their car in the Celebration thing.
Ugh.
Do you understand? Like there's certain groups that have a little more. As much as the 501st always seems like it's the pinnacle one, the group with the perks, the Road Squadron and the Droid Builders, sometimes they circumvent all of that, just because of there's such a niche market, you know.
Oh, see, I'd be all about Road Squadron. However, I gotta get over my irrational fear of putting anything on factory paint.
Yeah, but see, so you have a Cricket, right?
Mhm.
So I think 3M makes removable decals for cars.
Do they?
Yeah, so you
Yeah, but
don't-
would the sun affect the paint that's not covered by the sticker?
Well, it's like those seat cover things in the sense that, you know, oh, wait a minute, let me see. Okay, sorry, Zoe just text me, so here's my, and I'll get back to this. Yeah, I think of like seat covers, like guys who put covers on their car seats so they don't mess them up, and then they have that car for like 10 years, and then like, what are you gonna do with the seats after 10 years? You know what I mean? Like, okay, you didn't enjoy your car for 10 years, and now you have brand new seats in a piece of shit car. I don't know how it affects the fading, but I'm telling you that like some of the Road Squadron, like the one Mustang, a guy, man, I forget his name now, from California, he has a Mustang that he did up like Rex. It has number 66 for Order 66. It has the blue stripes like Rex. Ken Parks, that's who. Yeah, Ken Parks, I think is his name. But there's a lot, and some of them are literally, some of those Road Squadrons are just like, there's a couple that just like a black car with red stripes, and then it has like some Arabish under the door, and that he's Road Squad like, and then other ones have like R2 units bolted on the roof, and you know, all kinds of
X-wings.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Or this could be just a project car. I mean, how cool
Yeah.
would it be for you to have another, the Boba Fett?
yeah,
You know, so
Yeah.
you get a Corvette and theme it to connect to Boba Fett.
I saw a van. It was literally like a cargo van that someone just painted like an off-white, and then they painted like Millennium Falcon markings on it.
Hmm.
You know, and then there is a I want to say a 63 or 64 Buick station wagon. They did a whole Millennium Falcon wrap on it.
Wow, that had to have been expensive.
Yeah, well, I mean, you and I say that's expensive, but like, look at our costumes.
Yeah.
If you don't have a costume to build, it's expensive as
You got a point.
You can't drive a Mandalorian costume to work, but you can
Well, yeah,
drive the
like-
Boba Fett.
But like your car, you could just put the mythosaur, or the mudhorn. Put the mudhorn on your window.
Yeah.
Put a mudhorn on that little back window, and you know.
Yeah, they're useless quarter glass anyway, so
Yeah. So put some mudhorn on there. Put a Baby Yoda on your dash or something.
Or you could get the sticker on the passenger side that looks like Baby Yoda sitting in the
Yeah.
passenger seat looking
Well,
out
Did you
with
see
a
the
blue
newest,
cookie in his hand.
Did you see the newest one that came out? They came out with
No.
a Cad Bane.
Oh,
So
Really?
it looks like he's riding in your back seat. So I bought Zoe for her bug. I bought the Ahsoka ones. So I have the Ahsoka ones, but we haven't put them on the car yet. But I bought her the Ahsoka ones because Ashley Eckstein was signing the boxes from I forget the name of the company, but
her universe.
no, the company it's like Flatheads, but for car. It's like a car one. I think.
Oh, okay.
And you know, but yeah, that the Road Squadron is I mean it, and the people I met, like, they're pretty nice, and like I said, they got to pull their cars right in the celebration, you know. So yeah, just get a beater car. Just like that one guy, the head of it, I think he just upgraded his car because he just had like a Nissan, like an old Nissan that just had all, like, the whole dash was ripped out and it looked like an interior of a X-wing, you know, and had all that stuff on them. So
yeah, I might do like a white 4th gen Camaro, and
there you go.
because my car goal, because I'm also a car person, my car goal is I want to own every generation of Camaro.
Okay, that's
I
good.
am a third of the way there.
How many generations are there?
6.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a third's good.
So
I love the math.
yeah, technically, I'm a sixth of the way there, or a third of the way there, because I've got a 3rd gen and a 6th gen. But I might do like a white 4th gen Camaro and put some tally marks and big old blue Jag eyes on the hood.
There you go. See?
Yeah, see?
Do a Captain Rex Camaro, or Captain Rex Camaro.
Captain Rex. That's what I mean. Like, it's a fun group. It's a you sign up on Facebook, I think it does, and then they basically have a database of where you are, and then they just show up like car shows. You can go to a car show, and they're in that infancy.
What if instead of doing Rex, what if you did something Cad Bane called the Cam Bane?
Oh,
Yeah.
Your vanity plate could be Bane.
Yeah.
I saw a couple good Boba Fett cars at a car show once where they painted it like the paint was chipping off. It looked good. It looked like a rat rod, but it was painted in Boba Fett colors. So we have a giant shopping cart in Lancaster. The guy has a giant shopping cart with a V8 Chevy engine on it. So
What else would you put in a giant shopping cart?
and there's an Amish buggy made like an old Ford street rod, but the body of it's an Amish buggy.
That's awesome. I love that level of creativity.
Yeah, so in Ohio, I'm not sure if you can do it other states, but I know in Ohio you can search the availability of vanity plates.
Oh yeah. We can't do it in PA. You just have to submit 3 and hope you get the first one.
Yeah, CPN REX is still available in Ohio.
See,
I'm limited to 6 characters instead of the normal 7 because I always get FOP plates, Fraternal Order of Police.
Okay. Now, is your dad a car guy?
Oh yeah.
So that might be, get your dad hooked in there.
Yeah, I will get him into one group. He texted me today. He asked me, he's like, how much would a Y-wing costume be? I'm like, I mean, what are you going for? Are you going for Halloween or are you going for Rebel Legion?
Yeah, Y-wing's good. The helmet. Well, now with 3D printing, see, I would say the helmet would be your headache, but now with 3D printing, or even is the Y-wing helmet the same as Luke's helmet?
Yeah.
So you just buy the Black Series helmet. Those Black Series helmets for pilots are beautiful. They're not. It's almost not worth printing one for as nice as those Black Series ones are.
Right, which is I try and tell them the same thing about the TK armor. It's like the vacuum form ABS stuff is so much nicer than a 3D printing would turn out.
Yeah, I see guys printing again. My biggest concern with guys that 3D print TK armor is it will look fine until they're standing next to 3 other guys, and then it will stand out like a sore thumb because you can't hide that. You can't hide it with that white. I mean, the white will hide it, but not next to ABS white.
Right.
I mean, some guys do it, but it's not the amount of time and effort you'd put to smoothing that out. You might as well just buy TK armor is relatively inexpensive in the realm of armor, how armor goes.
Yeah, I mean, for TK armor it's full body. I spent half of what I spent on my Mandalorian armor.
Yeah.
And that's 8 different like hard parts.
Yeah. Well, the soft parts can run you too. Like I know guys that'll build an officer and they're like 80% they could have bought a TK. If you want to do an officer, I mean, I'm not knocking anyone, but it's hard for me to believe that someone growing up said, I don't want to be a stormtrooper. I'd rather be that guy. I'm sure there is, but that always seems suspect to me.
Tarkin, man, he was a convincing villain.
Sound like Krennic. I thought Krennic's costume.
Well, Krennic was the one I did like Krennic. But if someone said to me, like, because I know a Krennic costume would cost you close to $1,000 to do it right with the boots and the capes and all that kind of stuff. Well, if they said you can either do Krennic or a TK, I'd still take the TK over,
Well, that's because we like armor. We like things that we can make. You and I are not good with soft goods.
Yeah, no. But I also and I understand no one can look exactly like the person, but if I looked exactly like someone, maybe I'd feel differently. But there's some people that just don't look anything like the person, and I don't want to, whatever. But like you gotta, I don't know, you gotta know your strengths, And I like having my helmet on, and I can.
I look so much better in a helmet.
Yeah, me too. I have a face for radio, is what I was told.
You must have had the same grandparents that I did.
No, I'll tell you, my grandparents spoiled me. I will say that. I was like the chosen one with them. They were good to me. As good as you could be. Like I said, my grandmother hooked me up with Star Wars figures. Two Jawas, a Stormtrooper and Chewbacca, and the Land Speeder were my first ones. And I played with them for months before we could get more, because that was like, $1.50 a piece. That was a lot of money.
Wow, you got 2 Jawas though.
I had 2 Jawas, and it drove my grandmother nuts because she didn't understand why they cost the same amount of money as Chewbacca. Because Chewbacca was big, But the Jawas, probably when I was a kid, next to the Sand Trooper, my Jawas were my favorite. I don't know what it was about them. I just think it was just. Maybe it's just because they didn't explain stuff in Star Wars, so you could just run it with your imagination. You could just,
Or do you think it was because they were also tinkerers?
That could be. That could be.
I mean, did you steal parts from some other car and put it on your own car at some point?
I've never, honestly, besides that sign, and now you made me feel bad, I have never stolen anything. Like my grandfather would have, I would have felt it. But like when I was a kid, our jungle gym was a 65 Ford Falcon in the backyard. We just had a dilapidated, it had no motor, no interior, and the windows, we would roll the windows down. If you know a 65 Ford Falcon, it has a pretty wide ledge on it.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're like first and second grade, we'd run up and down that ledge and climb into windows. And that was our spaceship, car, boat, whatever we were playing. That's what it was.
Yeah, my grandfather had like, the campers that go on the back of pickup trucks?
Yeah.
We had one of those in the backyard, and it was the same thing.
Yeah.
And the bad part about it is where it was in the yard, it was right underneath an apple tree, which was right by an electric fence for the cow pasture behind my grandfather's house. I cannot tell you the number of times where I would climb down off of the roof coming down, and my butt would hit the electric fence and shock me.
Yeah, I think the only time we got in trouble is when we painted. My grandfather was a house painter, and we found a can of his paint, and we painted that whole Ford Falcon one color. We just painted glass, everything. We just painted the whole thing. We were like second grade, and he wasn't too happy about that. But that's why when Solo came out, and I saw that car he was driving, that reminded me of the 65 Ford Falcon. That, the car he was being chased in had the same dash and everything, because the Ford Falcon had 2 round gauges with a long gauge. The speedometer was a big, long, sweeping gauge. So,
yeah, well, actually, that same speeder, the same prop was used in Book of Boba Fett.
Oh yeah,
when Cobb Vanth is.
Twi'lek?
I don't know. I believe they might have used it twice now that I think about it. But I specifically noticed it whenever when Cobb Vanth was confronting the Pikes at the very beginning of episode 6.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're right. I still think it was so bad. They were really bad on that deputy, man. They didn't even check on him.
Yeah.
They just that Barney Fife, man. He just didn't. He didn't make it.
I mean, look, he had it coming when he was telling Mando where to park.
Lippy. Yeah, that was a weird. The parking thing was weird. It was. I mean, it's good. I like how they do that, because a lot of times they'll do that to show a whole backstory without having to go into it. I like when they can just take one little incident and you know exactly what kind of person that is, without having him have to say, "Oh, well, that guy, he's a jerk,"
Well, that was the second parking reference in a Star Wars movie. The other one was in The Last Jedi, when Finn and Rose parked their shuttle on the beach.
Oh yeah, that's true.
When they went to Canto Bight.
I gotta go back and rewatch that. One of my favorite spots on that is when the Falcon comes and shoots right through all these TIE fighters.
Mm-hmm.
When she returns.
One shot through all 3.
Yeah. Well, I think the prequels did give the Millennium Falcon its justice. Like, you heard how great the Falcon was, but you never got to see it. When Han was running, it was always breaking down and stuff like that. And when she had it, like when they first took off, and they were, it showed the power of the Falcon.
Yeah, thank God for modern technology. I mean, just being able to see the Falcon in like its true dilapidated glory.
Mm-hmm.
Still doing
Yeah.
some badass stuff.
Yeah. I still love when they're sweeping through the like the crystal caverns of
Oh yeah.
of Crate.
Yep.
And you
that,
get the
from what I understood, that was a connection back to the original Star Tours ride. Because when Star Tours came out, one of the things that they did was fly through like crystal caverns.
That's cool. Well, I like that. I like I liked it in Solo too. My favorite was when he said something about dropping the landing gear, like his friend Needles.
Till he crashed and died
until he crashed
doing this.
And I love the fact that people are still playing with the Millennium Falcon toys.
Yeah.
I mean, they have so many versions of it now.
Well, I have the Power of the Force one or whatever, the one that came out in the 90s, and I have the really big one, but then someone gave me a dilapidated one from the 80s or 70s, and it was missing every piece. So the pieces of the one for the Power of the Force are exactly the same. So I made, what do I normally do, Ken? I made molds of it. And so now I'm going to put that other one back together.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think we have. So we've got my dad's original 78 Falcon. I've got my first Millennium Falcon, which was the vintage collection, which again, same as the Power of the Force and the Kenner.
Yeah.
All the pieces are, it's the exact same thing, just with updated stickers and plastic.
Yeah.
Then we've got two of the giant ones. One's still in the box because it was missing all the stickers.
Oh, okay.
And then one we hung up with fishing wire with a couple of the other giant ships.
My dream Falcon is the Toys R Us Falcon that used to hang over the Star Wars section.
There's a toy store in our mall that has one of those.
Because that one's more to scale to the 3.5-inch figures.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm thinking something different because this thing's massive.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's to scale. This thing, I think it should be, if I remember correctly, if I did the math, it was either 6 or 9 feet across to be to proper scale to a 3.5-inch figure.
Oh, okay.
Because I scaled the AT-AT. If you do it at a 3.5-inch figure, the AT-AT would be over 6 foot tall at its highest point. Because at one point in time, I was just going to print one. Because there was not that many good Star Wars files. Like, I'm just going to have it printing when my printer's empty. But then I was like, what am I going to do with a 6 foot tall AT-AT?
Don't tell my dad that. God. If he knew he could print a 6 foot tall AT-AT, God, I would lose my printers forever. Because that's his favorite anything really Star Wars is he loves the AT-ATs. We've got 4 of the original Kenner ones,
Nice.
two of the vintage collection ones, one of the vintage collection Endor AT-ATs, the one that released in the same wave as the first run of the Clone Wars, and 3 of the Power of the Force ones.
None of the ones from Rogue One.
And that's right. I picked up the Toys R Us one on Black Friday when it was like $80.
Yeah, I passed on. There was a couple of those at Target I could have got for $30, and I passed on them only because I'm at that space. I'm like, I was getting to that. Like, I gotta really curtail what I'm buying, just from space point of view.
Yeah, every time I buy something new, I always think, God, I don't have space for this, and then we find it just somewhere.
I love when they put those little parts in a toy. I mean, Arc 77 is mentioning like the clicking gun and the little accessories. It doesn't have to be 952 small things, but 1 or 2 well-placed pieces makes it so playable, so memorable, so creative.
Well, my big problem with the Clone Wars toys when the girls were little, you would get a figure and it would have, like, you would get Rex, and it would have some weird thing that didn't even go with a toy that wound up just either getting in the way or thrown out. You know, it'd be like a harpoon gun with a string on it, you know. And I just liked it when they would just like, here's what you get. Give me 2 extra pistols, because those pistols on the Clone Wars toys we lost all the time.
Yeah, because they were super tiny.
Yeah. And I remember the first one first Clone Wars toys we got them had those clear rubber bands, and you couldn't see. You know, I wasn't used to them, so I'm trying to pull these toys out, and they had those clear rubber bands you couldn't see on them. So.
Yeah, luckily now everything stays in the box.
Yeah. Again, there's a lot of Black Series I'm probably going to get rid of, and
well, let me know which ones, because there might be some that I'm willing to adopt.
I don't think I have that many. I don't think I have that many good ones. Like, I think my oldest one, I have the original Black Series Stormtrooper, which is in the red and black box. I think that's my oldest Black Series, and then like all the Rebel stuff, Zoe has in her room, so we'll keep that and stuff. But yeah, I gotta get through all these pops first, and just decide which if or when I want to get rid of them. And we'll see.
Let me know.
Oh, geez.
Let me know.
Are there any pops you're looking for?
Not really. Nothing.
Like my favorite one's the giant Boba Fett. That one I don't think I'll get rid of.
The 40th anniversary one, or the special painted ones.
40th. I didn't like the special painted one. I was going to buy it, and I saw the 40th instead. And I was like, I'm going to buy that one.
I wish I'd made that same distinction, but I've got both of the red and the black ones.
Oh yeah, so Ark wants my Lego display, my Hoth display.
That's what you got from the store, didn't you?
No, that one I bought from. I don't remember. I think it was at a bash or something, or at a 501st meetup or something. I bought. This guy had some Star Wars stuff, and it's the store display, but I don't know how he got it. And he's like, and the girls were big into, you know. So I was like, yeah, I'll get it. But yeah, I just gotta. The pops right now are probably the biggest, just because they take up the way my place is decorated. They take up more room than the enjoyment they give.
Yeah.
And I like even my sound equipment. I have enough of sound equipment here to fix like 6 studios. So
don't you have Mike Pilot's old sound equipment?
I have all Mike Pilot's old stuff. Plus I have my old stuff. Plus I have other old stuff that I picked up over the years. I have whatever this mic is, which is a good mic. But I have, I think, 3 of those, and I have 3. What are the big round, like the big round mics, the Yeti
Snowball?
Yetis.
Like
I have
this?
Well, mine are the long ones, the tall.
Oh, okay.
You know, I got 3 of those because I was building the whole studio in here, and you don't need them anymore. So I just got to figure out what I got to do. I got a keyboard connected to my one mixing board so I can do sound effects. Like, I'm not going to do sound effects. You know, it's not the morning zoo. So.
Yeah, as much as it pains me to say, I think I might start trying to get rid of some of my lightsabers, because they take up so much space and they're so hard to display.
Yeah, that's you know. Again, and once you start 3D printing stuff and you can custom make stuff, like it feels better with that stuff than I don't know. But I just bought a Black Series. I just bought the whatever the black.
The Darksaber?
Darksaber. Just bought the Darksaber.
See,
and I still haven't opened my Razor Crest.
Yeah, you were saying last week that you don't know what you're going to do with it, but I think I think you might have a bidding war on your hands if you ever decide to get rid of it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or at least an arm wrestling competition.
Yeah.
I'll say, look, everyone, write a story why you should get it and send me $1. And then I'll do it for a month, and then I'll just randomly pick a name out. You ever hear someone like sold a house that way one time? Like, you had to write in like you had to send in $500 and write an essay on why you should get the house. And then once they collected enough of the house value, then they just randomly picked and give it to a person. I don't know if that's 100% true, but that's the urban.
It's a fun story to tell.
Yeah.
Can I give you 300 different essays?
Well, when we do, like, we have to do Zoe's helmet giveaway soon. We'll probably do 2. She has 116 like subscribers to her blog, and we'll probably do 2 for that. I just haven't decided which ones. I was going to do Bo-Katan. I'm just been lazy and not printing Bo-Katan.
I thought you already printed.
I
her
have it,
helmet.
but the nose needs fixed. The little brow.
Mhm.
So I'm going to take. I am going to print that one upside down because of that little peak. I'm going to try that one upside down.
I'm telling you, I was really nervous because there's a lot of support underneath of that, so it can get marred up
Yeah.
pretty quick. But I mean, it took me, geez, I don't know. It wasn't as much work as I thought.
It does cut the time. I just I just gotta get new printers. I get these 2 printers. I'm waiting to get paid. When I get paid for this job I did, and I get two more printers, then I can do bigger jobs. Right now, I just don't want to commit a printer to a couple day print.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with everything. It's like, okay, I'll get the helmet out of the way. It's a 2-day print, which 2 days that's really pushing it for me. Like,
I've done 8 days is the longest I've done.
see, I think the longest I've done is 3, and that's I won't do it again just for the simple fact of A, I'm impatient, and B, it's not just me. So and we've got very thin walls. So and my mother's a terribly light sleeper. So it keeps her up. But like generally, like with something like this, I would cut it at the top of the visor, and then maybe I'll cut it at the back. But this one, there wasn't enough good places to where I could cut it,
right,
to where it would be easy to hide seams.
That looks good. That looks really good.
Yeah, I printed it upside down on the horns.
Yeah,
and really, it was right here was the bulk of the supports, and it turned out far better than I expected it to.
You've got a good shine. You see the shine from here.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well,
thank you guys for inviting me again.
Wrap it up. It is 11:15. I was like, well, we're not going to do it that long this week, but
it turned out to be longer than last week.
Yeah, but no, it was fun.
Yeah, we got a bunch of people, sending us messages along the way, which made tonight even cooler. We got a random special guest of Anthony coming on board. That was pretty exciting.
Yeah, I always like you guys' podcast, so I saw that he had commented, so I just sent him a message. I wasn't going to say anything until we knew, but yeah, Anthony's. If anyone follows him on Facebook, man, he has a lot of cool stuff. His kids are always doing stuff too. So, all right, guys. Well, I guess we will call it. Thank you all. Arc 77 hung in with us.
Yeah, the whole time.
Yeah,
that's
you.
Impressive.
And
Blood Sith.
Oh yeah, Blood Sith.
Derpy Gaming said hello, and we had e-girl Emma saying hey at the very, very beginning. So it was great to be on board with everybody.
Yeah. And if anyone wants to jump in, and if we think of any guests, I'm going to try to get Zoe on. Wednesdays are tough for her, but I think she has spring break next week. So might be able to get Zoe on too. So
yeah, well, I think we should try and get, come closer to the day. I think we should try and get Matt on here and talk about Han Solo Chronicles.
Yeah.
Which have we locked down a date yet? Are we going to do the 12th or 13th?
12th. He just said 12th or 13th, and I haven't really checked which is which.
Oh boy!
But that's what.
Well, keep me posted, guys. I'll catch up with you later.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll get him to post up this week too, because I gotta go. I gotta get to bed too. So.
Yeah, me too.
All right, man.
All right.
Talk to everyone later.